Premier League games. Former Crystal Palace owner, our very own Simon Jordan, wonders if this is a good tactic for Tottenham.
And these players being bought from other sides that you're trying to emulate is always a curious phenomenon for me. I know that you can get jigsaw puzzles that work better in different spaces, but if Savinho can't do it for a rival, why can he do it for you?
They've spent over 300 million this summer, and we're told they're still fighting for Cody Gakpo's signature. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
There was talk yesterday that Manchester City are also interested in the Dutchman. I'm told that isn't likely at this stage, that he moves to the Etihad. If he goes anywhere, Gakpo, it could well be Tottenham, and I think that would be a really good addition for Roberto De Zerbi's side.
Next, Xabi Alonso wants Pedro Palmer and Rodgers to lead Chelsea's title charge from the front. Danny Murphy saw them win at Fulham.
That system allows those three to defend very little. And that's really important if you want them so focused on winning your football matches. And I quite like that setup for Alonso's team.
Alonso played his favoured three at the back, with Reece James in midfield, occasionally dropping into the back line in that win at Craven Cottage. There's more from Mr Murphy on the talkSPORT Daily podcast. Finally, rugby league legend Sir Billy Boston has died at the age of 92, becoming the first league player to be awarded a knighthood. He's already been immortalised with a statue outside Wembley. There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
A British undercover reporter has become the first journalist to cross the English Channel in a migrant dinghy, and a man's died and a woman left critically injured in a crash after a police pursuit near Stratford. More from Sinead at 5:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 600 centres across the UK, most of which open 7 days a week, we're always there when you need us. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
Dry for most of us with sunny spells, feeling warm in the sunshine. There's a few showers about, mostly in the southwest. These could turn heavy this afternoon.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary Test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to TalkSPORT, Visit Victoria could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for two to watch the 150th anniversary Test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour.
This is Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs with you through until 4 here on talkSPORT. Where this afternoon, Andy, please tell us what's coming up.
Well, coming up in the next 3 hours, what we gleaned from Fulham-Chelsea last night, how the officials dealt with law changes this weekend, and we'll find out if England batsman James Coles reached the boundary with a 124-year-old bat.
We'd welcome other suggestions for using the old gear in sport. Get an expert's take on the humanoid robotic games taking place in Beijing at the moment. I'm sure you've seen all the footage, and we'll reflect on a topsy-turvy decade for Leeds United.
There's all this, plus we'll take a look at today's big transfer stories. We'll preview tonight in the Carabao Cup, and we'll chat to the maker of a new documentary on All Blacks legend Jonah Lomu.
Indeed we will. 4 minutes past 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon,
Well, you said it this morning. You said, no, we're doing a Trevor Bailey. You did say yesterday
Yes.
you thought Chelsea would be great going forward, but not so good at the back, and you were worried about Sanchez. And I think that's kind of pretty much how it panned out in most people's
It's exactly
eyes.
how it panned out.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I tell you what, though, I missed that feeling of pre-match, pre-kick-off nausea. Honestly, I was so nervous. I've forgotten what
Really?
that's like. Yeah, it's bad, that. Shouldn't be.
You
like
should
that.
be terrible every time you play. It gets a whole lot easier. Well,
I
after
know.
3 seasons, you find you don't really get any expectation anymore.
But it didn't last too long because they scored very early, but then it came back. But the thing is, it was a very interesting. Every single person can see Chelsea need a goalkeeper. We've seen it for 3 years. And every pundit, every fan, knowledgeable or not, every single person can see it except the club. It doesn't make any sense. It's like a dereliction of duty to let a goal, for example, James Trafford, very good signing for Leeds. Good, well done for them. But
calm them all down at the back.
Why don't they look at that? The bloke will never be right. He has his games where he plays all right, but then that was a typical nervy one.
I thought even the second goal, I could see other keepers holding on to that. Really,
or pushing it to the side.
Wasn't hit that hard,
not
was it?
Straight out to the bloke, so he puts it in. So I didn't miss the hydration breaks on the weekend though.
No.
The World Cup. It was good not to get those in there.
That was true. The Chelsea looked, it was very enjoyable, and Chelsea looked very good. But I thought Fulham did as well. They were a lot further down the road than I expected under a new manager.
Yeah, I think so.
They played some lovely stuff.
Josh King's a terrific.
Oh, he was excellent. Yeah,
he was absolutely
really
killing us.
And they were still in it when they had the chances towards the end.
That one, John and I had a chat last night. John Norman's a big Fulham fan.
Our cricket correspondent,
And... that shot that King had where it just put it past the post, that had gone in at 3-3 with about 20 minutes to go. I'd have fancied Fulham to win that game. Yeah. So it was and yet at 3-1, Chelsea looked like they were going to run away with it.
Exactly.
So it was a strange game. But
Cole Palmer did look like his old self.
Looked like Cole Palmer, didn't he?
He did.
The most interesting stat of the whole thing, though, and I thought this was compared to last season, much less possession and much more shots.
Yeah,
and it's much better. It's great to watch. The football was
the difference
really,
between
really
Maresca and Alonso.
Yeah, whereas Maresca, it's you've got to keep the ball and that's it, and it does get a bit tedious there. Brian Linford, I've got to bring this up.
You're serial letter right to the start.
This is one of his best ever. I read it to the producer earlier because I said to him, "You won't understand a word of this."
Now we should. Oh, blimey, he's getting ready.
I'm getting ready. Yeah.
So Brian Linford writes to the Star every day, and he's the only person who ever reads his letters. This is probably why he still bothers. He doesn't put any punctuation in. It's all stream of consciousness. And occasionally puts, for no apparent reason at all, words in capital letters. And Andy, in his performance of the work of Brian Linford, you should take it up to Edinburgh.
I'm thinking of doing
the letters of Brian Linford. Andy Jacobs reads it. And but then
what's the name of that bloke that's always, I can't remember his name now, he's always at Edinburgh and he directs you in it. He could direct it.
So you could and he shouts the words in capital letters. So having set the scene,
well, he's writing about the England cricket situation, so it is sport. Yet another cricketer in a nightclub incident, Bryden Cast, England bowler, under investigation by ECB. That's the first sentence.
Well, there's no sentence.
Well, there was a full stop there.
Oh, blimey.
I know, it's very rare.
Yeah.
This is the one, though. Not since the days of George Best, AWOL, and nightclubs was I ever a cricket fan. I am now.
Oh, okay.
What's George Best got to do with it?
I think what he's saying is he kind of likes sports people in nightclubs, and he wasn't a cricket fan until Brian Cast.
Oh, I see. Oh, right.
Who's Brian Cast?
No.
How often has Bryden Cast been called Brian? Let's be honest. He has
no
been,
such thing as bad publicity.
It's a bad day for Brian Cast, isn't it? Brian's gone into work and they said, "Oh, you're in trouble."
What are you
talking about?
Let's look him up. Brian Cast.
I was not in a nightclub. There must be a Brian Cast.
I've got a new superfood for you. I know you like these. I'm going to buy you these. The sprouted Himalayan tartary buckwheat.
Yeah, you are. What is it?
It's a.
What does it do?
Rapidly gaining attention for its exceptional health benefits.
Yeah.
Powerful antioxidants, and it's polyphenol rich.
Yeah.
It's derived from the tartary buckwheat.
Yeah.
From Himalayas, I suppose.
And what do you do with it? What's
well, you eat it, I suppose.
And what does it do for you?
Doesn't say.
Himalayan buckwheat.
It doesn't say really. Yeah, you've got to be. It might interrupt.
Got to do something. I'm not going to eat it for nothing.
I wouldn't bother. I just like the title.
Last week I gave you, because Deaditch, of course, signed for Newcastle, didn't he? And I came up with a new quiz, Redditch or Deaditch.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe we could do you know your cast from your elbow? So you could have questions about the fine Manchester band. Might be a question there about Guy Garvey, or a question about the England bowler who's unable to play on Thursday.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll put a few of those together for you later on.
Okay.
Do you know your cast from your elbow? A new quiz that will play a little bit later on talkSPORT. Yeah. Okay, leave it with me. I'll try to do that. That kid's going to keep me busy in the breaks, isn't it? So yeah, we're going to have a chat with James Coles and the England Sussex player. He went along to Lord's at the behest of the Telegraph and used a replica of Gilbert Jessop's bat that he scored the fastest ever England century when he played in the Ashes in 1902, 76 balls. I mean, no one's ever beaten, have they?
No.
I still think it's still not been, but people have come close. But didn't Johnny Bairstow come quite close? I
He
think
did, and it's the same thing as the hitting the ball over the pavilion. It's only ever been done once.
I mean, in those days, to get a 6, you had to hit it out the ground. It wasn't enough to hit it into the crowd,
true.
was it? So it was tougher. But James Cole's tried this replica of a 124-year-old bat. But how did he get on? We'll find out a little bit later on. I'm all for, because we've talked about this with golf. How good would Brian DeChambeau? Everybody's called Brian now.
Brian DeChambeau.
If you're Bryden or you're Bryson, you're Brian today. But where were we? Golf, hickory shaft, the old hickory clubs and sort of feather balls and stuff like that. If you were playing with the old gear, how far could he hit the ball? Then how good would they be with the old?
It's true. They do have
the young Tom Morris
tournaments, don't they? They still have tournaments.
They do, but you don't see the stars playing with them. You see people that play that kind of vintage hickory shaft golf. But it's a bit like, I don't know, how good would Carlos Alcaraz be if he went out there with one of Rod Laver's old rackets from the 60s? Well, he'd be good, but he wouldn't be as good, would
he wouldn't be as good. Of course he wouldn't.
No. So, I mean, okay, well, that's the end of that then. No, I just wondered if we've said this before, football doesn't do these kind of throwback games. It would be nice to see them all go out one day in these great, just to see Robert Sanchez, see how good he is in a big, thick, heavy jumper like Fatty Folks.
No good would be my suggestion.
Might slow him down.
Might do, yeah.
So, anyway, if you want sport in the old gear, what would you think would be a great leveller in terms of the world of sport? Do let us know. talksport.com, text 1889, tweet to TSH&J.
It's a good thing Moses Atoma is a fine boxer because I don't think a career in comedy lies ahead for him.
Yes, I did see this story, and I know where you're going.
He said, we had a funny interaction about the bins.
Him and his brothers all staying in the same house in Essex to build up to the big fight because they've been working with
and about who was cleaning what. It was just a funny debate, to be honest. One of the brothers said he was going to take the bins out. Then the other brother got annoyed and argued it was his turn. It sparked a big debate about bins and cleaning and everything. Yeah. But I take my own rubbish out. I clean my own stuff. I stay out of it and watch them argue.
I wouldn't open with it. I'm not sure. You're going to sell that to Jerry Seinfeld, are you, really?
Not really.
What is it about bins?
Yeah. Not that funny, but quite interesting.
So Cass joins us first, our own Tony Cascarino of Weekend Sports Breakfast fame. We're going to talk a bit of Chelsea, Fulham, Villa as well, one of his other old clubs. Celtic, another of his former clubs, in action tonight. 3-0 up from the first leg. But they did give up some chances. Look, I expect Celtic to get it done. But if Lask were to score early, all I'm saying is there's a bit of jeopardy. I'm sure all the Celtic fans would come on when they win 4-0 tonight and say, oh yeah, jeopardy, is it?
I think they're in the last Lask chance salute.
I think they are in the last chance, but they did create a bit from the highlight I saw. So look, anyway, we'll talk to Cass about that. Look at today's big transfer stories. We're going to find out a bit more about the humanoid robotic games that are going on at the moment. You've probably seen all those.
Fascinating,
I think. TV. Yeah. And as Fletcher was saying, sad news today, Billy Boston, one of the greats of rugby league, the first, and as far at the moment, only night, I'm sure until Kevin Sinfield, the right thing happens to him, has died age 92. And one Wigan legend to another, Martin Afai, is going to join us for a chat to tell us a little bit more about Billy and his achievements, if you don't know his story. Plus, we're talking Leeds with author Dave Tomlinson. A new documentary on the late, great Jonah Lomu. Gavin Fitzgerald, the director, will be joining us. Joe Root's chatting to the press today. He's brought his press conference forward because he maybe wants to get it out the way. Lizzie Hammond from The Times is at Lord's to hear that unfold, and we'll bring you some of that. And we'll look ahead to tonight in the Carabao Cup and lots more besides. But Cass joins us next. We're here with our very good friends at Tool Station. Stay switched on with lighting and electrical essentials. First stop, Tool Station.
Yeah, fair play to Hull. I think Sergei Yakirovic is going to prove to be a very tactically astute manager. He's got Dean Holden as his assistant, obviously a boyhood United fan, but he was absolutely buzzing with that win over his club, and they deserved it, Hull. I thought they were brilliantly organised. I've pretty much been the only pundit on talkSPORT saying I think they've got a chance of staying up, and maybe people will come round to that way of thinking now. But the lack of energy, effort and endeavour from those Manchester United players is unforgivable. The bare minimum away from home against a newly promoted team on the opening day of the season, you have to match their levels of commitment. And these United players did not do that. And is it a surprise? You look at people like Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw, these players have been part of the problem for too long, haven't they?
So is Carlos Baleba the answer to your problems then? And is it going to happen, Crookie?
It's going to happen. I'm told it could even be announced as early as today. Whether he's the answer or not, I don't know, because you look at United defensively, so poor, the 2 goals they conceded. I've mentioned Shaw already. They definitely need an upgrade in the left-back department. It seems to be every summer they target one area of the team, the United hierarchy. Last summer it was the forward line, obviously bringing Cunha and Mbumo and Šeško. This time it's 3 midfielders. Tillerman's miles off the pace for me at Hull, and Santos didn't cover himself in glory, but hopefully from United's perspective they'll improve. They've got to work on that defence. You know, I don't trust any of the central defenders, to be honest. I know they've got Martinez and De Ligt to come back, but can they stay fit? History tells us probably not. Lenny Yoro's not ready yet, nor is Heaven on what we saw at the weekend. And as I say, Maguire's been there a long time now. You can't question his character, but I think you can.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary Test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. Thanks to talkSPORT, Visit Victoria could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for 2 to watch the 150th anniversary Test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
Pedro's been released by Cole Palmer, and he's off the mark just after the 32nd mark, running in behind. What a finish that is from João Pedro. King strikes it brilliantly into the near post and beats Robert Sanchez and scores the equaliser midway through the first half. It's a brilliant finish from Josh King.
Palmer is on the pitch now and on the ball, and he plays it down the right into Lacroix, who gets into the area, takes on the defender, goes on the outside, pulls it through the box. It's got to be Rodgers, surely, to score a debut goal in front of the Fulham supporters. João Pedro is running to the edge of the area now, and he's got Palmer on the overlap, and he puts it through the legs of the goalkeeper and scores. Well, you don't expect anything less from this young lad. Colwell switches off, Castagna takes advantage, shoots towards the goalkeeper, he's headed by Gonzalo Garcia. The goalkeeper can't keep it out, it hits the underside of the crossbar, and Fulham close the gap to just 1. Chelsea have their first opening weekend win in 4 years. It's Fulham 2, Chelsea 3.
Yeah, very entertaining Monday night game, although a bit a seat of the pants, Randy. Let's chat now to a former Chelsea striker, of course, one half of the excellent weekend sports breakfast here on talkSPORT, Times columnist Tony Cascarino. Hi, Cass.
Are you, Paul? Are you, Andy? You good?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah.
It was very entertaining. What did you make of Chelsea? What differences did you see from Maresca to Alonso?
Well, I think the bleeding obvious is things that we already knew. We knew that Chelsea would have a formidable front three. It's incredible to watch Cole Palmer play the way he can. He's just got so much ability, technical. You know, you never quite know what he's going to do, but he's got a moment of brilliance in him, and that was that last night. And Pedro, who could easily become one of the top centre forwards if he's not already this season, because the way he took his first goal, the little dink, I thought it was an incredible goal from a man that is oozing confidence as well, even though it's start of the season. He signed a new deal. Forwards-wise, Chelsea were great, and Andy's going to, probably say what we've all said. Every Chelsea fan will say the same. Goalkeeper not good enough. Defence looks a little bit shaky. midfield, when you get Caicedo back and maybe Enzo, I don't know. No one knows the outcome of that one. But forward-wise, they're going to be a great watch this year, Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, that interesting stat that I talked about at the start of the show, if you want to compare the two managers, much less possession from last year, but a lot more shots, a lot more direct. And, of course, that's so much better to watch for Chelsea fans.
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. I mean, look, Alonso's team, if anyone had watched Bayer Leverkusen and when they were at their very best, they were a side that caused so many teams problems. And he's come to the bridge, and I'm sure he knows there's a few issues to deal with, like you'd expect. The window's not finished. Chelsea always do an unbelievable amount of business. But what I would say is that you have to go back quite a way, Andy, to see a forward line that good. You know, they're Hazard, Costa, and you can go back to Drogba. That forward line, I would argue, is as good as any three in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. But why do you think, Tony, that the club haven't bought a goalkeeper? You know, every single person in football can see this. From the top to the bottom, from the most intelligent to the least intelligent. Every single person except this club can see this.
Yeah, it seems everyone has a blind spot towards the goalkeeper because, you know, if you're centre forward, which I was, and, you know, and if you miss chances and you miss them regularly enough, people will start saying, you know, he's not good, he's not clinical enough. You know, you both remember Timo Werner. You know, he had some very good things in his game, but he wasn't a particularly good finisher for someone that, you know, you think could play for Spurs and Chelsea, and that was his Achilles heel. This goalkeeper makes too many mistakes. You know, the first goal by Josh King, that his feet work. I mean, I'm not a goalkeeper, and I'm sure the goalkeepers union will probably give me stick, but every goalkeeper I ever knew that was really, really good had quick feet to get across and adjust himself and make a save. He cannot score there, Josh King, and he has.
Yeah.
So on to Fulham. I think if you're a Fulham fan, you'll be a bit upset with the result.
Stuff.
But they played some good stuff, and you think they're a bit further down the road than maybe you expected under Arbeloa?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, if you take the two mistakes out, Chelsea could have comfortably won that game, Paul, you know, by a couple at least. But there were some good signs. I mean, Josh King, I was lucky enough to see when he was at Chelsea last year, and he played really well, and he got his goal disallowed. And you could tell his movement is terrific. He's got enough speed. There's a lot about him. It's all about how consistent he can be. I mean, Gonzalo Garcia coming in the forward line does him the world of good, getting a goal straight out in the first game of the season. Fulham, I'm still not sure because Arbeloa's got some challenges because, you know, relying on 22-year-olds when you're making them, a couple of them coming from Real Madrid and losing some big players that they've had, you know, that have delivered last year. So I think it's wait and see on Fulham, but I'm sure the Fulham faithful would have been pleased in a way, the way they attempted to try and, you know, hurt Chelsea. And they did at times.
Let's move on to Villa, another year-old clubs, and a bit of a troubling start to the season. But I mean, they had a bad start to the season last season. Does this feel different, Cass, in your eyes?
Well, it does, Paul. And I was there on Sunday, and there's a lot of experience being taken out of the team. You know, players that have served Villa really well over the years, and they look like they missed them. And look, the young players like Hemmings coming in, I'm sure one day it'll be fine. But watching them really now, they're sort of left with McGinn and Cash as the two most experienced players. Yao Gomez didn't do himself any favours getting sent off. He was alongside Kamara in midfield. Look, they were blown away by Brighton. And you've got to give full credit to Brighton. They dominated possession. I think they had 21 shots in the end, you know, and Villa didn't have one on target. So it was a really difficult... Look, you go 1-0 down, you go 2 and 3, and before you know it, you're 4. And to be honest, I felt Brighton took the foot off the pedal because they knew they could. And, you know, once Villa were down to 10 men, I mean, I was quite near the dugout, just behind the dugout as well. And I don't think I've ever seen Unai Emery so frustrated. And I get it, the game's going away from you, but it felt more than that. He was continually pointing the finger at Solada in the dugout, and when a few exchanges happened, and you could tell Unai Emery was really, really bothered, not just by the result, probably by things what are happening off the field, because this Villa team are being ripped apart, and that is something they're going to do business. What I'm hearing today, they're going to make a signing. Maybe we'll see a new player or two come in. I'm sure it'll have to happen. But in an afternoon, it could have been way, way worse than it was. And I've got to say, the Villa faithful were unbelievable. The noise they were making at 4-0 down and singing Unai Emery's name. And they realised the problem their club have got. And we all know from the outside, It's all about the financial fair play and what you have to lose, and then what you have to bring in. It feels like Villa have been caught right in the middle of this problem.
Guillaume Balaguer's written a book about Unai Emery. He's a massive fan of him. He's still very confident. He calls this Villa 2.0, wait and see. And, he's got a lot of faith in Unai Emery. He's a great manager, so we'll see what happens. I wouldn't write them off yet.
No, I'm not writing them off, Andy, because I'd echo exactly what you just said there. Villa fans know they've got a great manager. And with that, he's got to reinvent the Villa, but he's losing a lot of experience. We still don't know what's happening with Martinez or Ollie Watkins. That is an issue because he's got to find solutions to that. I trust in him because I think, like I said before, he's terrific at rebuilding football teams, but he's going to have to. I think this is the closest he's ever come to really having a rebuild that is so dramatic as what's happened in the last week or two.
Just quite a quick one on Celtic as well. We had a little spell. They got Lask tonight. They're 3-0 up going to their place. On the face of it, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But Lask did create a bit. I mean, you'd expect. I wouldn't be at all surprised if maybe lose on the night, Celtic, but win the tie.
Yeah, Paul, I did watch the first game and Celtic had brilliant moments, but Lask called Celtic problems. Of course, 3-0, you'd like to think they'd get over the line. And it's a bit of a, you need that sort of statement in European football for Celtic or Rangers because they've so often gone out so early. But what I would say is that there were some wonderful goals in the first game. Great movement, great finishing. It was terrific. It really was.
So we shall see what happens. Cass, you're back on Saturday morning, of course, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll be there with Shaban.
Nice one.
Good
Cheers.
show.
Yeah. Cheers, Andy.
All the best.
Cheers,
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
There's Tony Cascarino back with the Weekend Sports Breakfast this Saturday morning. So, still to come, we are going to be hearing Joe Root is currently chatting to the press. We'll bring some of the highlights of that, and Lizzie Hammond from the Times is in the room listening to this, so we'll get her take on it.
There is a Brian Cass, by the way.
There is a Brian Cass, yeah.
He's a professor at the West of England, Bristol University.
Oh, okay. So imagine he went into work and people were saying, oh, you had a busy night. Were you in Derby? What are you talking about? Sure, I saw your name in the paper. Now, Andy, do you know your cast from your elbow?
I probably
The question
don't.
I'm asking now is who, out of Guy Garvey, frontman of the fine band Elbow, or Bryden Cast, the England and Durham cricketer, who favours a nice glass of Bushmills? I mean,
I'd say that was Guy Garvey.
So you're absolutely correct. Despite the evidence to the contrary in Derby the other night, it is indeed Guy Garvey who had it as one of his luxury items in Desert Island. So thereby proving, Andy, that you do know your cast from Europe.
Thank you very much.
Maybe we'll come back to that later on. So, don't miss the latest episode of the talkSPORT Daily podcast with Adrian Durham and former Fulham and England midfielder Danny Murphy. We're going to have a chat with Aid later on, building up to a big night in the Carabao Cup. They discussed last night's West
An
London.
expression who wrote one day.
Yeah. No, it's not. No, you're thinking of a book by David Nicholl.
No, it's not called one day. What's that?
They discussed last night's West London derby, which saw Xabi Alonso's Chelsea beat Fulham 3-2. That's the talkSPORT Daily, available on all podcasts. I know what you mean. Podcast.
I know what I mean.
You've got the title. Podcast platforms now. So lots to come, including all the transfer stories of the day with Alex Crook, and a report from the World Humanoid Robotic Games.
Mate, we ain't back, are we?
No.
We ain't back.
No,
I'm
you're
a
not.
bit worried, mate. I'm a bit worried now.
You're taking 10th? You consider... Okay, give me this. I'm giving you 10th now. Are you considering it?
Maybe. Yeah, I might put...
Mate, at 7:30 on Saturday, you might be taking both arms off.
Oh, God. You know what I was worried about, right? We made all these signings.
What part are you worried about?
No, I mean, the front three is just so bad. I can't believe that front three. It was unbelievable. Mikey Moore, Tell and Richarlison. The team looked worse than last season.
Like, when you actually looked at it, Spurs' team looked worse than last season. The only player you'd say in there was Tonali, where we paid 100 million for him, right?
Toenail.
But, like, really...
Tonali.
Van Hecker and Senesi at the back, right? Van de Ven is better than Senesi. Van Hecker had a bit of a stinker. Romero, on his day, is better than Van Hecker, all right? Archie Gray is not as good as Porro. And left back, Robertson, okay, I thought he'd done all right, but, we need a bit more from him, but it's first game.
What about Slipsky?
The front three was it was awful.
What about Slipsky?
Yeah, he didn't have his best afternoon, did he?
He lumped the ball up to Richarlison. Richarlison trying to win a cheap free kick.
It wasn't ideal, mate. It was a bad start. It really was.
Well, do you know what, Jay? It's about things. Say things can only get better. Maybe they could get worse.
Amen Corner, perhaps the most feared run of holes in golf. Each year it claims the tournament hopes of many, with balls hitting bunkers and water traps aplenty. But why is it so fearsome, and where did it get its name? Just the thoughts of holes 11, 12 and 13 at Augusta National gives the likes of Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth the shivers. McIlroy hit 3 over and Spieth hit 4 over in their final rounds to blow their hopes of a green jacket in 2011 and 2016 respectively. But did you know Amen Corner's name is inspired by a jazz song from 1933? American sports writer Herbert Warren Wint, on the left here, wrote about it in 1958, referencing the song shouted in that Amen Corner when describing the run. Hole 11 is a par 4 over 520 yards with a green guarded by a pond and bunkers to the front edge. 12, perhaps golf's most famous hole, is a par 3 over just 155 yards. The green's guarded by Rays Creek at the front, more bunkers and azalea bushes ready to punish the smallest error. Then there's the 13th that teases the hook shot over the trees. It's a dogleg par 5 over 545 yards that's inviting for big hitters who want to reach the green in 2. If you want to win the Masters, you have to keep your score down around Amen Corner. So who'll be the next to fall victim to golf's most famous and most daunting challenge?
Good afternoon, Hawksbee and Jacobs here on talkSPORT. One of the true greats of rugby league, Sir Billy Boston, has died at the age of 92.
I'm old enough to see seen him play.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I remember those great commentary moments there of
Eddie Waring.
Eddie Waring, yeah,
sure.
That's right. And I've only ever sort of seen him on film playing, but an absolute legend of the game for so many different reasons. And joining us now to pay tribute is a fellow Wigan legend, Martin Afai. Hi, Martin.
Hi, guys. A bit of a sad day, for the sport of rugby league. The passing of the great Sir Billy Boston. He had a pretty good innings, 571 tries, 3 statues, and loved by many at Wigan. Always, brings a smile and a cheer anytime his face was seen at the screen at games. I was with Billy and his wife, the late Lady Joan Boston, who also passed a few weeks ago, and people thought that Billy was just holding on to be with Joan, and when she passed, he went not too long after. So I say it's a sad day for rugby league, a day of coming together, a day of sharing memories. I didn't get to see Billy play, but spent a lot of time with him over the years. Obviously we're both on the statue at Wembley together, but also got the statue down in Wales and also one at Wigan. And as I say, I think he came up from South Wales in the 50s, a different world.
Yeah.
Living now, and for him to span 92 years and have the effect that he's had, and as I think I mentioned the knighthood that he got just recently from the King as well. Yeah, a true legend of the sport.
Apart from being a great player, a real pioneer. I mean, he came in from Wales, didn't he? His dad was from Sierra Leone, and he kind of carved a bit of a pathway for other players that came afterwards, didn't he, Martin?
Yes, he certainly did. The town of Wigan is a great place, somewhere that is very close to my heart. It's got a history of taking great players in and making them feel part of the town. And I have a strong affinity for the town, along with Billy, Ellery Hanley, Roy Francis, another player who went 20 years before Billy, back in the 30s. And as I say, it's a different world we live in now. I can only think about some of the stories that Billy has told about his journey from South Wales to becoming an icon of the sport in Wigan, going out to play in Australia and scoring all the tries he did out there for Great Britain on Lions tours. He is a great man.
Yeah, he was. Wales was a union heartland. So to go and play rugby league, presumably he did it because he wanted to turn professional, because you couldn't earn money in rugby union in those days. And he would have inspired you, but he must have enjoyed watching you play as well, because there are similarities to the way you both played.
We both came from the sport of rugby union. Many people don't realise that the sport of rugby union has only been professional since 1995, and by which time I was 30 years old. So I wouldn't have had much of a professional career if I'd have waited for union to become a professional sport. Unlike the younger boys in the Wigan team, the likes of Andy Farrell and Jason Robinson, went on to have fantastic careers in rugby union, as players and coaches. Obviously, Faz and Sean Edwards as well as a coach. They always say you're a product for your time. Billy was a product of his time, and he was a great man. They say not only for his exploits on the pitch, playing in 6 Challenge Cups, winning 3 of them, scoring the length of the field try and 1. And, but for what he did in the town after he retired, he stayed in the town. He was a pub landlord, something that a lot of football players and rugby players did after they retired. I think it's a bit like the after dinner speaking circuit now, isn't it? People used to go into the pubs and they used to be regaled with all the stories of the eras that they played in. So Billy had his pub as well. I think it was called the Griffin. And, as I say, wherever he went about in the town, he was recognised not only by people like you, Andy, who actually got to see him play, but by young kids who never got to see him play, but were told by their fathers and their mothers and their uncles and aunties and grandparents about the great Billy Boston. And I'm sure that his memory will live on within the town.
Martin, really appreciate you joining us. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Martin Afire there, paying tribute to Billy Boston, who died today, aged 92.
Whenever I did Eddie Waring's voice, it was always...
You would say that was it. You just
Billy Boston.
You couldn't.
It
was,
brilliant,
amazing player. And there is some footage online. You get a chance, you haven't seen him play. It is worth checking it out, because he was some player. So, you've probably seen footage of the World Humanoid Robot Games that are taking place in China. at the moment. They're going on for, I think, a week.
I think it's fascinating.
Lots of different sports. It is fascinating.
It's very political as well. I was reading about it this morning. It's a chance for China to show its face to the world. They lead the technology in this.
Well, let's speak to a robotics expert. Chris Middleton joins us now. Hello, Chris.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
How impressed have you been with what you've seen? Is it kind of surpassing what you expected, or is this pretty much where we're at in the world of robotics at the moment?
I think it's things have been this way in the world of robotics for a long time. I mean, robots have been playing sport since the 1990s. If you can find videos of small humanoid robots playing football and things, back in the late 90s. And if you track that progress from then until today, you can see the extraordinary engineering progress that's been made in developing these machines. It really is incredible. Back in the 90s or the noughties, you were talking about small humanoid robots running around, kicking sort of toy footballs, really falling over. It was comedy. But now we've seen these extraordinary feats, barely a quarter century later. It is very impressive.
The fact that it's breaking human records, we saw the Usain Bolt record broken, and you think, well, I mean, a car could go faster than Usain.
Yeah, but it's
I know, I do know, but I mean, is it a fair comparison? Is it a worthwhile comparison?
Not really. I think, well, actually, yes, you're right to make the point about cars, that these are just machines, but the fact that they are humanoid in form, we shouldn't forget that they're just machines. I think in a way, a lot of people feel that the tech sector, and I'm a writer about technology rather than a technologist, I'm on the side of human beings. I think, this discussion coming on the back of that very moving piece about Sibylle Boston just now makes the point that I think a lot of people are in a way kind of offended about this idea of machines impersonating humans, copying what we do. And it is quite an offensive idea. We live in this world of AI music and AI writing, and I'm a writer and also a musician, and so I feel, uncomfortable about that. And now here we are with robots doing, physical exertion that some human beings are just can't do. It's an interesting time.
Some of the positives of it, we often talk about the way that F1 feeds into the kind of cars we drive on the road, and you look at the robotics and you kind of thinking that this is useful tech. It can work in sort of world of prosthetics, etc., can't it? So I would imagine it is useful tech, this we're witnessing, isn't it?
Yes, exoskeletons, bionic limbs and so on are incredibly useful, and that is good technology. I think it's also worth pointing out, though, that although the engineering challenges have been solved to a large degree, as we can see from these games in Beijing, the amount of useful things that these robots can do is currently very small. And that's for one very simple reason. You can scrape the whole internet to get the data for an AI. An AI could explain Einstein's theories of gravity to you today, but a robot can't sort your dirty socks, and that seems like a counterintuitive idea. But that's because the data for sorting your dirty socks doesn't exist anywhere. It's not on the internet.
No.
So you have to train robots from the real world, or you have to simulate these things. And it's quite easy to simulate a robot running or walking or dancing or kickboxing, but it's much harder to get a robot to simulate a robot doing something very complicated with its hands. They can't do that yet.
There was that one sinister moment, Andy, we both noticed. I think they were kind of doing the parade of the athletes, the robot,
and you saw of warfare.
You saw them all marching, and it was quite chilling, really, watching an army of robots marching forward.
Yes, no, it's a good point, and in fact, quite a lot of robots now look more like sort of stormtroopers from a dystopian science fiction film. And the idea that millions of people are going to welcome robots that look like that into their homes, I think is kind of crazy. I don't think they will. You've got to make machines look friendlier than that, but it's an important point. Yeah,
you need them. Basically, wouldn't need them to look like Alan Carr. You need to have a bit of a friendly face, someone a little bit less daunting. Chris, really interesting. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Chris Middleton now, a technology expert, robotics expert. And I mean, the thing is, the clips we all see of them sort of stacking it and they're catching
They are
fire
quite
and
funny,
stuff. There's some bad stuff, but when you actually look at what they're doing, as we said, it is useful technology. You can't really think it isn't.
I've bought an animatronic goalkeeper for Chelsea, Robot Sanchez.
Oh,
Tremendous.
Is he any good?
He's better.
Is he quite good?
Not as nervy.
Okay. Well, I think Joe Root might want to get a team, 10 other robot cricketers. But then they'll be going out for a couple of glasses of 3-in-1 after the game, wouldn't they? That's the trouble. What's happened to Bright? Oh, he's been on the WD-40. He's outside a club somewhere in Derby. Anyway, of course not. So look at some of the transfer stories of the day. Alex Crook will open his notebook.
Oh, good.
Very, very shortly. We're here with Tool Station. First stop, Tool Station.
Would you both have expected better than what you saw from Tottenham? And I think the answer
I'm
to
not
that
surprised
is,
that they lost.
Oh, yes.
I'm not surprised that they lost, but the
Not
manner.
taking anything away from Brentford, though.
No, the manner in which they lost surprised me.
Right.
There didn't seem to be any
Right.
fight or any change in gear, or the mindset hasn't changed. It's exactly the same. A soft underbelly from Spurs, and they're going to have to eradicate that very quickly.
And both of you think they'll do one hell of a lot better than 17th.
Well, they've
So
with
do you
the players
still
they're now
have
buying,
heightened
yes.
expectations that they might be top half? Then they might be top 6.
No, I'm thinking top half of the table. I'm not saying they're going to be, it would be a surprise. They could do 6th, 7th, but they're going to have to improve massively, Jim, from what we saw at the weekend. And where are these players that have been injured for so long? Look, there's an awful lot of players.
Fit, isn't he?
Van der Ven wasn't available, Jim. You look at the back four, there's hardly anybody playing from last season. So they're facts, but get them fit then. Let's get them out there.
We saw Newcastle yesterday and how they went about it.
They're at home.
We saw they're at home, yeah. But we saw Tottenham and how they went about it. It was chalk and cheese.
But I think this is great for De Zerbi because he'll sort the wheat from the chaff. And for me, I don't have any expectation of Tottenham. They're not my football club. So, I don't particularly admire their board and I don't particularly like their manager. So I don't have an objective view. So I'm quite happy to see them struggle. But that's me being mean-spirited. But you would, for the Tottenham fans, who are plenty of my friends are Tottenham fans, you've gone to Brentford. You've been battered. You could have got beat 7.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been a surprise because they were that dominant. They missed the penalty. They had other chances, Brentford.
Yeah.
A lot of that is because Brentford are...
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary Test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. Thanks to talkSPORT, Visit Victoria could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for 2 to watch the 150th anniversary Test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
Time then to enter Alex Crook's transfer notebook. Good afternoon, Crookie.
Boys, we good?
Yeah, we're
Very
not
good,
too
thank you.
bad.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting with Andy? You've got us chatting off air, myself and Andy, both saying how we thought Sandro Martinez looked really good under Carrick last season. But you say his days could be numbered at United, but mainly around his fitness, Crookie.
Yeah, he's a lot of injuries.
Yeah, I think that's the main concern. I make you right. I think when he's fully fit, he goes straight into the team, certainly based on that wretched defensive performance that Manchester United produced at Hull at the weekend, when obviously he was watching from the bench because he'd gone all the way to the final in the World Cup. Wouldn't surprise me if he does start against Ipswich on Sunday. I'll be there for talkSPORT and hoping from a United perspective for wholesale changes really to the team that started at the MKM. He's got a year left on his contract. There is an option in that contract that I think United will take up to basically extend the deal until 2028. But I do think he's going to have to prove his fitness this season. I've worked it out, and since he came to the club around about 4 years ago, he misses on average up to 20 Premier League games a season. And obviously that is too many. So no doubts about his quality, but I think the hierarchy have got a little bit of doubt about his ability to stay fit. And it could be an interesting summer this time next year when it comes to that United backline. A lot of them have been there for a while. Harry Maguire's contract will be up then. Luke Shaw's contract coming to an end as well. What they seem to do in EOS, if you look at the last couple of summers, last summer it was all about the attack. They brought in Cunha and Mbumo and Sheshko. This summer they've reinforced the midfield with the additions of Tielemans, Santos and now Baleba. That deal could be announced as early as today. You'd think the defence is the next area of the team that needs strengthening. I would argue it needs strengthening in the next week of the window, but I'm not entirely convinced.
It must be. I know all summer you coveted Adam Wharton, and so do I for Chelsea, and so do Palace fans who love him.
So do a lot of people.
Yeah, he's a terrific player. I'm surprised they didn't. For me, it would have been a better bet than Baleba, but who am I to say that?
Where are we at with Wharton? Do you see him at Palace next Tuesday?
He seems to be the odd one out, doesn't he? When you look at the midfielders that have changed hands for big money, kick-started with Elliot Anderson, that moved to Man City, Tonali for £100 million to Spurs, Baleba for around about 70 million. I think it's slightly more than that with the add-ons, but certainly Wharton, I think, would command more of an Elliot Anderson type fee. I think Palace put him in that bracket, and that's probably why Manchester United and other clubs have decided not to follow up their interest. But you'd think if he has another strong season at Palace, Wharton, then surely it's a matter of time. But at the moment, I would expect him to stay.
And Alex Scott as well?
Same. Chelsea have had a 64 million offer rejected. That
3 bids, I think they've put in, haven't they?
Well, I only know of this one of 64 million. I know that was dismissed out of hand.
That's not enough, is it?
That's not enough.
Well, I think there was an agent's play going on there whereby clubs were being briefed that Bournemouth would sell him for around 60 million quid. That was never Bill Foley's intention. Again, they look at Elliot Anderson, they look at Tonali, and they think Scott should be going for a similar sort of price tag. So I was down there last week. Marco Rosa was confident of keeping him. Speaking to people behind the scenes, that they didn't see that scenario changing. But we are anticipating that Manchester City are going to make a formal bid for Enzo Fernandez. If that happens and he makes his move to the Etihad, then do Chelsea come back in and try their luck again with Scott between now and next Tuesday? I certainly wouldn't rule it out.
Do you think Chelsea will sell Fernandez if they haven't got a replacement? I can't see it. I think they will turn. If they must be trying. I mean, we all know these things going on in the background. Yeah. And if they feel they can't find anybody, I don't think they'll let him go.
Well, is he in a bit of a difficult situation that they kind of want him out? Well, I wonder what his attitude is to staying, Crookie.
Well, yeah, I'd like to get his attitude. I'm sure we will get an interview from him somewhere down the line. He's not afraid of speaking his mind, certainly in his native tongue. The impression I've always got is that Chelsea aren't desperate to sell Enzo Fernandez, but they have a valuation. That is the business model. And if that valuation is met, then they would be willing to do a player trade. But you're right, there doesn't seem to be an obvious replacement there, does there? Caicedo obviously started on the bench last night. Lavia did okay, but I think there's still doubts about his fitness. So I think they would need someone to come in. But do they strengthen in that area of the team, or do they use the money elsewhere? Because there's just been a few whispers this lunchtime that it's not just Arsenal. Keep an eye on the Julian Alvarez situation, maybe Chelsea as well.
Oh, interesting.
No, that's not going to happen. The one area they don't need to strengthen is that.
Well, you can never have too many good players.
Oh, you can have a goalkeeper. That might help.
Yeah. John Philippe Mateta, there we saw him play against Everton the other day, and you thought maybe he's put all his differences behind him about trying to get out of his contract. But Villa showing an interest.
Yeah, this one's moved on actually since even I wrote the notebook this morning. A bid's gone in from Aston Villa. It was immediately rejected. I'm told it was between 20 and 25 million pounds, so well short of what Crystal Palace would want to sell Mateta for. Manchester United and Tottenham have been offered Mateta. I'm not sure how hot their interest is at the moment, but Villa need someone, don't they? Because Ollie Watkins does look like he's off to Saudi Arabia. I know there's interest in Nicholas Jackson and Rafael Leao as well, but Mateta, not the greatest striker in the world. He misses a lot of chances, but he's got a decent goal record in the Premier League. So I think if Villa can up their offer, then this is going to be one to keep an eye on in the next week of the window as well. And you're right, there's a bit of an issue going on with Palace. He's complained to both FIFA and the Premier League. It's been dismissed by both those organisations that the last year of his contract should be invalid. But that tells me the player wants to move.
Now, I was going to say, because Villa do want Jackson. You mentioned him there. And there's this mad situation, isn't there, that they have to wait, Chelsea and Villa, 45 days.
If you do business.
Otherwise, it's deemed a swap deal. I don't get that. That's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, that's under UEFA financial rules. Because Morgan Rogers went to Villa from Chelsea, if another player goes the other way on a permanent deal within that 45-day period, you say it is regarded as a swap deal, and obviously that affects the balance sheets of both clubs potentially. We Googled this, actually. We put it into AI. It was 33 days on Sunday from when Morgan Rogers was announced as a Chelsea player.
Yeah,
now, there is a chance the paperwork went in before that, but either way, that's cutting it a bit fine, isn't it, for the 45 days?
That's right.
So is that only an issue if you're two teams that are in UEFA competitions at the time, or is that just a general rule across the board?
Well, obviously, Aston Villa are the ones who are in UEFA competition.
Oh, we have Chelsea aren't, of course,
this season. But actually, a lot of Villa's issues, we put it down to the Premier League spending regulations. My understanding has always been that actually they're sailing a bit close to the line with UEFA as opposed to the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, Villa's a fascinating case study, and I'm really intrigued to see what they do in the last week of the window. Looks like they're going to get in Ordonez from Club Brugge as opposed to Taylor Harwood-Bellis because they can't agree with Southampton. I mentioned Rafael Leao there, talks underway, but they need bodies, don't they? Because that team that Villa sent out at Brighton, I've got to say I had a pretty hefty bet on Brighton when the team sheets came in because it looked like a Carabao Cup team playing a League Two side, with the greatest respect in the world to the players that did play for Villa.
Now, West Ham have got some restless players heading into the window. I mean, Jean-Claire Todibo has been an absolute disaster for me. He cost a lot of money. Tom Rennie's tweets, his increasingly manic tweets, tells you what he thinks. I think he'll drive him to the airport.
Not a fan.
He'll probably drive him to his next club. I mean, they've got some front, these players sometimes, haven't they? Who are the ones who want out?
Well, Todibo is a classic case of not doing your homework because he was offered to Newcastle before he went to West Ham. And it's my understanding that Eddie Howe did a bit of background checking and said absolutely no chance are we bringing Todibo to St James's Park. West Ham did the deal. And you're right, he's been a car crash on and off the pitch. He's, lack of discipline. He's had red cards along the way. And he's basically refusing to play since he was hauled off at Newcastle in West Ham's penultimate game of the season. He fell out with Nuno Espirito Santo, wouldn't play the last game when West Ham were trying to stay in the Premier League and hasn't obviously kicked a ball in the Championship. Similar stories elsewhere as well with Alvarez in midfield. He wants out of the football club. He is also refusing to play. Wan-Bissaka, from what I'm told, didn't cover himself in glory, didn't turn up for the pre-season photo shoot. And I think Juth, wanted by West Ham, is up to similar antics. So there's certainly some bad apples that West Ham need to move on.
Brentford. Sorry, Brentford won him.
Brentford.
Brentford won him, yeah. That's
a very quick one on John Ruddy. Still going strong, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he's only a few months shy of his 40th birthday, but looks like he's on his way back to Wolverhampton Wanderers. He left Newcastle on a free at the end of last season. They've obviously moved Dan Bentley on to Coventry, so they need a third-choice goalkeeper. And I think they're looking at his character as much as anything. He's probably not going to play as a third choice, but maybe a decent head in the dressing room, someone who might have a coaching career there moving forward. I'm told this one is quite likely to happen.
Good stuff. The original Big Owl asked, would Andy take Emi Martinez? I think you probably would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think you would.
What's going on with him?
It's not as good as he was, of course.
It's gone a bit quiet, though, Crookie, isn't it? What's going on with him at the minute?
Yeah, again, it wouldn't surprise me if he was to move on in the last week. Obviously, they've got Suzuki in there now. Didn't play at the weekend. Marco Bizot got the nod, but Suzuki, I think, is coming to be the number one. Martinez thought he was off to Juventus. His dad was actually telling Argentina fans at the World Cup that move would happen, but they were concerned about a finger injury, so they went for Vicario instead. Chelsea have looked at him before. Ben Roberts, though, the sort of goalkeeping overlord there, does seem to have an awful lot of faith in Robert Sanchez, more than most Chelsea fans.
More than anybody in the universe. Nobody can understand this. Nobody. Ben Roberts, honestly.
The Sanchez family are quite keen.
Seriously, I've heard this before about this, that he considers him like his son sort of thing. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. He's the only person in Britain that thinks this. Everybody else thinks he isn't good enough. He's a fine. He's a decent keeper.
You can't say that.
Andy.
Well, you can't say them. Crookie, fantastic. So the notebooks, we can find that at talksport.com. I mean, I'll take it it's going to be a mad final week, isn't it, in the window?
I think it is. There's some massive deals to be done. Bradley Barker to Liverpool. I'm leaning towards that one. Probably will happen now between now and 11 o'clock next Tuesday. Enzo Fernandez, as we've mentioned there. Marmoush to Spurs. Potentially Cody Gakpo to Spurs as well. Obviously, other players are going to be leaving Chelsea. Villa have got business to do. Newcastle want reinforcements. Their new manager, Matthias Geisler, told me that at the weekend. So I think this could be a really busy final week. I'm not planning on sleeping much.
No, I agree.
Good stuff. All right, we'll catch up with you later in the week. Thanks very much, Crookie.
Cheers, guys.
It's Alex Crook, our chief football
Looks like Delap
correspondent.
to Forest. I think that would be a good move for him.
Now, if you're wondering why Savino has become Savio, I'll let you know in the next few moments.
Good.
After we return after the sport. It kind of makes sense. We're going to talk boxing with Paul Smith, former British super middleweight champion, and we got Talma versus Hergovic this weekend, and lots more besides. And we're chatting about the great Jonah Lomu as well. New documentary on his life. We'll be chatting to the director.
His love affair with Daniel Levy, he just really makes me laugh. I think...
what, laugh in a good way? I'm here to amuse you.
No, I just think it's embarrassing, and I'm sure Simon and Daniel Levy must have gone on holiday together this year and shared a room because he's embarrassing. And
why is it embarrassing?
Because I think he should be the fifth member of the In-Betweeners.
Which one's the fifth one?
The fifth? No, you're the fifth one.
I know, but which one is the fifth one? If you're going to insult me, get me the details.
You're the fifth one. You're the fifth one.
I know you, Wally, but which one is the fifth one? Which characters? Oh, you're making a character for me. Got it.
Yeah, every time you mention Levy, they go.
Yeah, but you don't listen, do you? Because what you've got is your own preordained bias. What I keep on saying is that the ownership model that Daniel Levy worked within is the same ownership model that exists now. I don't care whether Daniel Levy's in charge of Tottenham Hotspur or not. I didn't always like Daniel when I was dealing with Tottenham back in the day when I owned Palace, but I've grown a healthy respect for him because I think he's a good operator. But you guys are listening to a new ownership model, which is not a new ownership model. It's the exact same. And the only point I keep making, while you guys keep on saying, "Oh, you're up Levy's backside," is that hang on, get some balance in your thoughts because you don't have any balance. That's all I do.
All right, let me finish then. Let me finish, yeah?
Go on, then.
All right. You're like, every time you mention him, it's like, oh, friends, Daniel Levy, oh,
special friends.
Right, that's you.
We're talking Leeds United in the last hour with author Dave Tomlinson. Yeah, the rise and fall, the amazing decade that they've just gone through, the ups and downs. That's all to come, but Ben Fletcher's here with the sports headlines.
talkSPORT Sports Update with NordVPN. Connect and protect your online traffic with our most advanced VPN.
Afternoon, it's Savino, aka Savio, worth £75 million. That's what Spurs are paying Manchester City, plus another £10 million in add-ons. For a man with 2 Premier League goals and 9 assists in 53 games, here's our very own Simon Jordan.
Players are being bought left, right and centre for that kind of money. And so when we talk about the spend patterns and what might have been spent a few years ago, the market is really different. And it's now, for the clubs that have the ability to spend, there appears to be no barrier that they won't cross.
Spurs are said to be hotly pursuing Cody Gakpo as well. Ashley Cole has stepped down from a coaching role within the England under-21s. A key member of Lee Carsley's team, he'd held the role for 5 years, a period which saw back-to-back Euros wins. Earlier in the summer, Cole stepped down as Cesena manager after just 8 games. Next, World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit isn't convinced players can dictate regime change at FIFA, but he does think they should have a say in choosing the president.
We never ask the players to be involved into the elections. They are playing, they are making the whole business on the pitch, and we don't ask them their opinion about who's going to rule their words.
Cricket now. Joe Root says he's really hacked off and really disappointed with the chain of events that led to Bryden Carse being dropped from England's Test squad. Carse was handcuffed after an incident in Derby late on Saturday night. Root has bemoaned continually making stupid mistakes, which he says is detracting from what we do on the field. And Rugby League all-time great Sir Billy Boston has died, aged 92. Part of Great Britain's World Cup winning side in 1960. Martin Afire says it's a sad day for the sport.
For him to span 92 years and have the effect that he's had, and you know, I mentioned the knighthood that he got just recently from the King as well. Yeah, a true legend of the sport.
There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Migrants are paying for small boat crossings through slave labour, and 5 more people have been arrested in response to the A66 crash which killed 2 police officers. More from Sinead at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 400 EV-ready centres across the UK, we're top of the league for electric car owners. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
Dry for most of us with warm sunny spells. A few showers, mostly in the southwest. These could turn heavy later this afternoon.
Here's the 150th anniversary test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army.
Now you're ready for the trip of a lifetime. We're sending you and a mate down under.
Lovely.
Imagine being in Melbourne next March, watching England take on Australia at the 150th Test match. Completely on us. That's thanks to Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. You and a mate. It's always a mate, isn't it? I mean, what the missus...
You and an enemy.
Or the partner might say about this. You and a mate could win the ultimate 7-night all-inclusive trip to Melbourne. We're talking return flights, match tickets for all 5 days, an exclusive function with cricket legends and tour the Great Ocean Road. How'd you win all that?
For your chance to win, visit talksportwin.com or text WIN to 83338 by 6 p.m. on the 1st of September 2026. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or send your name and number by post to Comp2, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP to arrive by midnight on the 4th of September 2026. 18 plus UK residents only. Your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksportwin.com.
A few reports that the Leon Goretzka deal to Villa on a free after he left Bayern is done. I mean, it's not officially confirmed, but
very experienced.
Yeah, I mean, they tried Paulinho, who decided to go back to Portugal, didn't he? And kind of gives them a little bit of what maybe they've lost in Tielemans. But I mean, not quite the player he was, but still a very good player. And he's one of those you often used to look at him playing for Bayern when he was winning everything, thinking, I wonder what it'd be like in the Prem. So
we're going to find out.
Exactly.
Yeah, good.
Later on, we're going to be talking Leeds, going to talk some boxing with Paul Smith as well. Toma versus Hrgovic live on TalkSport this weekend. And a new film about Jonah Lomu we'll be discussing as well. And we will hear from Joe Root a little bit later on. Lizzie Hammond from The Times was in the room listening to that press conference. And he's got every right to be hacked off, hasn't he? Really. When you stand up for the players, when you say, look, we don't need a curfew, these people are adults, and then something like that happens. He has said that Brian Carse is very sorry and very apologetic for what happened, and he's aware of the problems this has caused, but, you know.
Just disappointing. It's the last thing you need, really, from his point of view.
Yeah, exactly. As I said, to bring the press conference forward so we can kind of get it out the way and let them build up to the match. It's just an unwanted distraction after decent win in the first test, wasn't it?
Definitely.
In the meantime, Andy, anything you want to share with us?
Well, a very fine letter from Ian Owen of Wallington.
Oh, well done, Ian. Another one of your pals.
Another one of my
We should
pals.
have a big dinner for them.
I want them to do a documentary on all the people that write, because it's the same 5 people.
Yeah.
I want to do an in-depth thing on how they go
Then
about
you've
it.
worked in telly, you can make
I
it
know.
happen.
I'm
Andy Jacobs, the letter writers. Yeah, why not?
Sylvia Monk.
Yeah, they're all
Brian
here,
Linford, he'd be the star.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ian, he always writes a letter that doesn't tell you anything other than what actually happened. Manchester City's Erling Haaland looks a lot better with his hair cut short. Oh, that's a bit of an opinion there from Ian. That's unusual. Let's hope that with his new look, he can deliver the goals yet again for Manchester City this season. Although he did draw a blank in their opening win. Thanks, Ian. I didn't know that. Tremendous.
Mark agrees with you. Andy, you're right about Sanchez to the extent that if Alonso doesn't get rid of him, he will ultimately end up contributing to him losing his job.
Well,
he says, well, quite possibly.
You won't be the first Chelsea manager that's happened.
Of course, Neil says robotic footballers off the back of us looking at the humanoid robotic games. Android Townsend is all that, if you must. Yeah, robot cricketers, says Bazza. This lot apparently are already well-oiled. Yeah, fair enough. Yes, one of the robots been sent home from the games for testing positive for WD-40, says Dan. Tour de France, riders should do at least one stage like they did in the 1900s. Old one-gear steel-frame bikes. Stopping for roast chicken, beef cutlets and drinking wine and pints. Yeah, I read a book a little while ago of that sort of era, and they did get stuck in. They'd sort of stop off and have half a bottle of red.
Oh, yeah.
And get back on again.
Yeah, you couldn't do that now, though.
That's better than half a bottle of EPO, as they did in later years, of course. Using the odd... No, I won't say. They did. They did use the odd bit of cocaine along the way. That's back in the 1900s, Gary. LeBron James, how do you think he'd get on in a pair of black slip-on plimsolls? I still think he'd be pretty good.
He'd be fine.
I think he'd be all right. This is off the back of the fact that James Coles is joining us, the Sussex and England cricketer, who tried his hand with a Gilbert Jessup, a replica of Gilbert Jessup's bat from 1902 that he broke the England century record with. It's a kind of pretty... You can't use the original one because it's in the Lord's Museum. You can't smash it. And he said, why didn't they use the original one?
Well, I do
it's an antique, mate. You can't do that. You can't use a 1902 bat. It'd just fall apart, wouldn't it?
I suppose they simulated the weight and the shape, but
and everything. Apparently everything. Yeah, weight and shape. And it was like a really... Gray Nichols kind of put it together as a complete replica. Used the same wood and everything.
Amazing.
Right?
It's been this new book about the Beckhams is good, isn't it? Some really good revelations.
Well, we may be hoping to chat to the author, aren't we? And nobody loves the Beckhams more than you.
Nobody loves them more than me. And it says here there was the revelation of the dress, of course. Then came David.
Dress?
Oh, the fact that Nicola's dress wasn't made by Victoria, it was made by somebody else.
I've not kept up with all this.
Oh, yeah, you've got to.
Yeah.
Then came David, who gave a speech considered by sources, apparently, to be too long.
Ah.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it? As for Brooklyn, his contribution to proceedings amounted to him wondering if they should get special guns in to bring down any drones released by the paparazzi. That's a great suggestion, isn't it?
Wouldn't it be great being the Beckham's gunner? You could have a job, ex-services, someone who's been a gunner in the army or whatever,
That's
artillery.
true.
And you could sit in the Beckham's garden.
It's quite...
Turning yourself around, taking the drones out that are trying to look at their land. Yeah.
He also wondered if a reception fast food van might offer the guests a special Nicola burger. That's with lettuce and no bun.
This is from Brooklyn's wedding, is it?
And Nicola at one point apparently asked if all the guests...
Nicola, like you know her.
Well, I'm just reading, it's a quote here.
Oh, okay.
And Nicola at one point apparently asked if all the guests could be presented with a dog as a leaving gift.
Dogs are for life, they're not for weddings.
No, not really.
You can't give a dog away to people. They don't want a dog.
Who knows if that's true or none of it? Oh, dear.
Oh, blimey. Smash the microphone in his anger.
I'm not angry about that.
The pelts is... I've got a 130-year-old wood and ebonite fishing reel, says Loza from Raisin.
That's amazing.
Way too scared to use it. And away. I wonder if it could be good, Loza. I don't know if it'd probably a... Well, you were asking about using the old equipment. How would sports people fare if they found themselves using, the greats of today? Sinner using an old Yvonne Goolagong racket.
But if they both used it, it'd be quite fun,
As it would be. This is what I think. I think football misses a trick, not having a weekend of 1950s laced footballs and old kits. Old kits and the big Adidas Tom Finneys halfway up your leg. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Just to see, see how they get on.
It'd still be good, They would.
Probably get fewer broken metatarsals in a pair of Adidas Tom Finneys, wouldn't you, I would think?
That's very true.
Currently doing the bedroom slippers they wear now. So, we're going to talk about Jonah Lomu, a man that myself and Andy were fortunate to interview twice when his autobiography came out in 2004. And he was a lovely fella, a gentle giant, as they say. But
Great
he had
player.
he had an incredible life on and off the field, quite a chaotic one as well. And his story is being told in Lomu, a new movie. And Gavin Fitzgerald is one of the directors, and we'll give you a bit of a flavour of it and have a chat with Gavin very shortly. We're talking boxing in this hour. Later on, Adrian Durham joins us because we got live football for you this evening over on talkSPORT 2. Forest versus Leeds in the Carabao Cup second round. Adrian will be around the grounds with Dean Ashton and Ben Mee, and all the goals as they go, and he'll be down in Plymouth. They play in Cov, Birmingham versus Brentford. So some cracking games tonight, and we'll be right around the grounds with Adrian. He'll join us later on in the show. We're here, as always, with Toolstation. Get all your lighting essentials in one place. First stop, Toolstation.
We're due to talk about Spurs now. O'Hara was meant to be here, Jason Cundy, but apparently he's bottled his chance to plug your show. What? If you're not watching but listening, you've put on a Jamie O'Hara mask. Is that a new thing? I mean, that's quite horrific.
I don't know what it looks like. How does it look?
What do you think it looks like?
No, I can't see myself. Does it look like O'Hara?
Have a look at the monitor.
Every time I do that, I turn away.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it looks ghastly, and I never use that word. Yeah. Have you put it on before?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I've worn it before.
It's so vile.
Weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. So do you want to pretend he's here?
I can pretend he's here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
Shambles. Shambles.
Good team. Why is he not here? I heard he stormed out the studio again yesterday.
Last night, honestly.
Soon it's going to be more of a shot of his face.
I talk about Spurs.
Take the mask off, for God's sake. Yeah.
Honestly, when we talk...
Oh, put it back, put it back.
Put it on. I love getting into him about Spurs. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And he was saying if they buy Savinho and Mamouche, they're guaranteed top four, top two. And I'm like, come on, mate, come on. The Ange mask will come out, and it just grew legs and arms. The thing, and it just exploded.
You got many more masks?
No, yeah, we've got Benty mask.
Have you?
No, we don't. No.
Don't wear him in a bank.
Do you know what happened though? Here's what happened with the Ange mask. We bought it last season when he took over at Forest, and we ordered it from I think South America. By the time the mask turned up, he'd been sacked.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT and Visit Victoria, you could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for two to watch the 150th anniversary test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
It's Paul Hawksbee, Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. As we said, we'll hear from Joe Root. He brought forward his press conference ahead of the second test at Lords on Thursday to address some of the issues around Bryden Carson being pulled out of the squad for that game. And Lizzie Ammons was in the room from the time. She'll join us later on and we'll play you what Joe Root had to say. He was not best pleased, I think it's fair to say. But we turn now to one of the greats of rugby union. As we said, a man Andy and I were fortunate enough to interview on a couple of occasions back in the day, the late great Jonah Lomu. There's a new documentary on his life and times. Before we chat to one of the directors, Gavin Fitzgerald, let's give you a flavour of it.
Number 11, Jonah Lomu.
Jonah is a freak. 1 in a million. Every rugby player, either they got the speed, the power, or the skills.
That's brilliant!
Jonah got those 3 things.
He was a superstar. He's a big bastard. But man, his life was complicated.
Your success was our success. Your dream was our dream.
I'm strong because of you.
Power of the mind, if the heart's willing, anything's possible.
Yeah, there was nothing, no finer sight really, was there, in that era of Jonah Lomu in full flight, unless you happen to be Tony Underwood.
That's such a memorable moment, isn't it?
Let's have a chat with Gavin Fitzgerald, one of the directors of the new film. Hi, Gavin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a great pleasure. Yeah, so Andy and I met him a couple of times. When his autobiography came out in 2004, he spent half an hour in the studio with us. And he was a gentle giant, wasn't he? He was a lovely, polite guy, but, a different beast on the field of play.
That's it. I think that's why people like, I live in Ireland, this side of the world, people were such a big fan of him because of that sort of balance where you had such a humble, soft-spoken, gentle giant, and then just what he could do on the pitch. Nobody really has ever done since. It's there's a really special player.
He, as they hinted at in that column, he did have a quite chaotic life, didn't he? Which I suspect, apart from the great rugby footage and the rugby story you got, his life story is quite something as well, isn't it?
There's many chapters to Jonah's life for a guy who unfortunately died so young at the age of 40, especially in his later years, much of which people don't know about. It was really hard to actually get it all to fit in the film. He really lived quite a life, as well as the sporting side of things, his personal life, the personal battles he had. So there were many chapters, and it was really just trying to encompass all of that in a coherent film.
The thing, of all the years I've been doing this show, there's one fact that sticks out.
Amazing.
When we read Jonah Lomu's autobiography when he came in, and we chatted to him about it, and he said to us that when he was diagnosed with his kidney condition, the doctor said to him at the time, "You've had, this has impacted you all your life, certainly all of your professional sporting life. You've basically been playing your whole career with the handbrake on." And you thought, wow, it's like at sort of 60 to 70% of what he was capable of because of this condition. And you think, how good would he have been without the handbrake on?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the question, isn't it? He probably got that, from a lot of conversations with his doctor, Doc May, who actually unfortunately passed since the documentary. Really nice man, lovely man. So he suspects that he picked up this illness, perhaps a blood infection when he was younger. They don't know. So definitely he had it for most of his life. And how that affected him was, for example, he could beat anybody in a 100-meter sprint, but if you asked him to do a long distance run, he would really struggle. So they were looking at him, the coaches, going, "What's with this guy? Like, is he lazy? Like, why isn't he able to beat everyone everywhere?" And he didn't tell people. He kept things to himself. This was all part of his nature. So he's a complex guy. And you're trying to figure him out. And that was a really interesting process. Obviously, him not being around to tell his story, how he approached that was speaking to everybody he knew and had a very close involvement of his best friends and his family, who give very, very detailed and open accounts of his life.
A quite chaotic love life as well, didn't he? He was divorced on a couple of occasions. I think he came in with his new partner that first time we met him. So, I mean, I wonder, was he the stuff of tabloids in New Zealand? Was he sort of rarely off the front pages as well as the back pages?
They called him Lord of the Rings in New Zealand. You know, he was married 3 times, but he was engaged 3 times. We couldn't even fit that in the film. It was like he'd meet a girl and he'd do that thing where he romantic puts the ring on the finger, and then you know. It doesn't tell his parents that he did it or something. You know, it's almost like I don't know, that religious upbringing was sort of in conflict with what he really wanted, and I think he just took a long time to kind of discover who he truly was. He's a young man who has, you know, a difficult upbringing and is thrown into fame, and this can have a big effect on your personal life and all of these things. And I think he had a lot of weights in his shoulder. And so, yeah, you certainly, like, his estate was quite complex, as you can imagine. And there's yeah, a few wives as well, all of which we did speak to, not in the documentary, but as part of the process.
He was also such a great player of the tournament in '95 World Cup, and record holder for the most tries scored. So he was a very special player. Did you have a lot of good footage to choose from?
You know,
was that more difficult?
It was a time of rugby wasn't professional yet in '95. He was a big part of why it went professional thereafter. Unfortunately, like, you know, they don't have the camera angles and things like that. You know, when you look back at footage, you'll often see some of the same stuff, you know, recycled. So it's just that kind of gantry angle thing. But yeah, like, you know, I think if you watch the documentary, you know, I think the rugby it's like, you know, he expresses himself on the field, you know, that's where he did the talking. And there's just something so powerful about seeing him run over the English, you know, as a place that was colonized by them, and here's the new face of rugby, a Tongan kid who grew up in South Auckland, and it was such a statement, and yeah, it really changed the game from that point.
We were saying that it's Billy Boston has died, a giant of rugby league today, age 92, and maybe give some people that like their rugby league an opportunity to watch him play. There's some footage, of course, that goes up when something like this happens. And I think your documentary, I'm sure that, you know, a younger generation of rugby fans may not have seen much of Jonah Lomu or know his story, but it is an opportunity to see, as Andy was saying, just a great someone who had everything, was not just powerful, but was incredibly quick, had great technique, had it all, really. I
mean, you know, people always ask that question, how would he do in the game today? Like, he's 6'5". He's and has been recorded running 100 meters under 11 seconds, and you know, he's 18 or 19 stone. I mean, like, that's a huge problem. And the interesting thing was that Laurie Mains, the coach of New Zealand at that time, had this idea to move him from a forward in the pack to the wing. So it was an experiment, you know, put the big fast kid on the wing. And I'm sure we all know that kid in school, you know, who was just a foot bigger than everyone else. But it was like that in the professional game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we wish you well with the documentary. It's a great story, and he was a remarkable fella. So thanks for joining us, Gavin.
Thanks very much.
Gavin Fitzgerald, one of the directors of the new documentary Lomu. You're right, you try to get some water. Yeah. Lomu was in cinemas for one night only, Monday the 7th of September. You can book tickets now across the country at lomu-doc.com. That's lomu-doc.com. It's well worth a watch. I'm sure it'll be coming to the streaming channels soon. Yeah. But yeah, I look back with fondness at that chat, don't you? It's just one of those.
One of the greats.
And a lovely guy as well, but as you'll discover, pretty chaotic and ultimately sort of tragic end. He didn't die with a great deal of money, considering everything he'd achieved because of some of those divorces and business ventures and stuff, but just a really lovely man. We're going to talk boxing with Paul Smith next. And just a reminder that talkSPORT is now available to watch live in more places than ever, including on Samsung TV Plus. So make sure you're tuning into us there for around-the-clock coverage of this new Premier League season which of course has just got underway. That's Samsung TV Plus. Watch us there now.
Michael, where are you with Isak at this moment? I just think that particular penalty, Szoboszlai was always taking it, and likes of Isak had far more to lose than he had to gain by taking that penalty. But where are you with Isak at this moment in time? And he looks to me, he obviously had big injury problems and all that stuff. The move was well documented. You know, Newcastle fans are unhappy. What's it going to take for him to get playing with a regular confidence and show the ability that we know he has?
Well, I'm not sure about you, Ali, but I had plenty of injuries in my career, so I know how hard it is to get back, and you do need a bit of time. And everybody's given him time and understood that, but then he's sort of finished the season, then he's gone to the World Cup, and now he's had a pre-season, and you just think, okay, now we're starting to run out of excuses. We need to start seeing the real Isak, and we know how good he is. I mean, wow, we saw him for Newcastle. I mean, he's absolute class. But we haven't seen it for Liverpool just yet, and I think, you know, questions will come now. As I say, always give him the benefit of the doubt in the past with Liverpool, but at the start of this season now we're expecting, and Liverpool absolutely need him. They've lost Salah, Ekitike's out, there's not that many options in attacking areas. They absolutely need him to be on top form. Yesterday he was far from it. I thought he was a yard off, and that's worrying. But so was Wirtz. I thought he was really quiet as well. So, you know, it wasn't the greatest performance for Liverpool. They actually did well to scrounge a point in the end. But obviously he's the big money signing. He's headline maker, and I can't say he played well, because he really didn't.
Amen Corner, perhaps the most feared run of holes in golf. Each year it claims the tournament hopes of many, with balls hitting bunkers and water traps aplenty. But why is it so fearsome, and where did it get its name? Just the thoughts of holes 11, 12 and 13 at Augusta National gives the likes of Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth the shivers. McIlroy hit 3 over and Spieth hit 4 over in their final rounds to blow their hopes of a green jacket in 2011 and 2016 respectively. But did you know Amen Corner's name is inspired by a jazz song from 1933? American sports writer Herbert Warren Wint, on the left here, wrote about it in 1958, referencing the song shouted in that Amen Corner when describing the run. Hole 11 is a par 4 over 520 yards with a green guarded by a pond and bunkers to the front edge. 12, perhaps golf's most famous hole, is a par 3 over just 155 yards. The green's guarded by Rays Creek at the front, more bunkers and azalea bushes ready to punish the smallest error. Then there's the 13th that teases the hook shot over the trees. It's a dogleg par 5 over 545 yards that's inviting for big hitters who want to reach the green in 2. If you want to win the Masters, you have to keep your score down around Amen Corner. So who'll be the next to fall victim to golf's most famous and most daunting challenge?
respect to Filip Hrgović, Moses Atoma is going to go through him.
I don't buying that story, that hype. I'm not buying that.
Don't buy it, you'll see it.
Moses Atoma!
That's it! Delbert Franklin, and now Moses Atoma bows to his crowd.
This is the hardest fight, like professional, amateur, the threat, the opposition.
There is the destructive power of this exciting teenager.
People might think I'm crazy. I think he's the best I've seen since Muhammad Ali.
Moses Atoma gets the biggest win of his professional life.
What's at stake? Of course, that's the biggest fight of my life.
Yes, this Saturday, talkSPORT brings you live boxing commentary as Moses Atoma aims to become Britain's youngest ever world champion when he faces the very experienced Filip Hrgović at the O2 Arena in London. We're going to be with you live on Saturday from 7:30 on the talkSPORT network, the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel, where you can watch it live on DAZN, of course. Paul Smith has joined us. He is the former British super middleweight champion, one of our regular pundits here on talkSPORT. They've just been doing the Talk Boxing show, which you'll be able to watch later on. Hi, Paul.
How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah,
good. Thank
you had Filip Hrgović on, didn't you, as well as Frank Warren, so we'll hear from them later. But is he feeling pretty confident, Hrgović, you sense?
Yeah, he is. We asked them some questions, and I asked them, not to ruin the show too much, but I asked them, is it winding you up a little bit that you're the far more experienced and established fighter, but you're a massive underdog? He's 8-1 on. Atoma's 7-1. He's 8-1 to win the fight.
Right.
Just to win the fight, Hrgović. And in a 2-horse race, in a fight that I think is a very, very good and competitive fight, them odds, I think, are wrong. I think it's a very competitive fight. But we've seen where Atoma, a lot of his peers, a lot of people like us in the trade, we know it's not hype. We've been hearing stories about this kid since he's been a kid, since he's been 14, 15 years of age. He's been sparring with full-blown heavyweights since he's been that age. And he's gone through everyone like a knife through butter, pardon the pun, and he is really like the real deal. So we're not technically getting carried away on a bit of hype. We're getting carried away with what we've seen, and what we've seen so far as a pro, he's delivered and more.
We've heard there, though, that Atoma knows what he's up against. It's not bravado. He's not saying, I'm going to knock the guy out, I'm knocking him out. He says, this is my toughest fight. Yep. This guy's good. This guy's durable. He's been in with some good... So he knows what he's up against, doesn't he?
Yeah, and they were having a bit of to and fro recently on a phone-in, on a head-to-head on the table, which they'll show this week, I imagine. And he's saying, being known for having a good chin, this is Atoma saying it to Hrgović, isn't a good thing.
Because you're being hit on it.
Because you're being hit on it. But then Atoma said something what was a little bit naive in the fact that, well, I don't get caught. Everyone's going to get caught.
Yeah.
You don't go out in the rain and not get wet.
Has anybody caught?
Not yet, but I think he definitely will have in sparring. I think he'll know from sparring, because the amount of competitive rounds...
Has anybody troubled him in your eyes, Paul? And if so, how?
No, and listen, I expected Dylan White to give him some rounds. I didn't expect Jermaine Franklin to give him some rounds, and he was very durable, because I think the speed kills, and that's the old saying in boxing, and Atoma has bags of speed. When Billy Joe Saunders, the little clip you heard before, saying he's the best thing he's seen since Muhammad Ali, for me, he's very reminiscent of what a young Mike Tyson was. He has that speed, that explosives, but I think he has a lot more going on up there, brain power, and tactically and technically, he's very, very good. He's an exceptional fighter. He's one that we should all be proud of to get behind. But this is a very good test on Saturday night, and a fight that I'm really looking forward to.
The other comparison with young Tyson is every time he beat somebody who was good, they'd say, "Yeah, but he's not as good as he." Do you know they would undermine the achievement. Every time, and then I was talking to Spencer about. Then he beats Trevor Burbick, and everybody sort of sits up and takes notice, and he gets the jelly legs, that famous fight.
Yeah.
And so this could be a great statement fight. This might be the moment where people start saying, this guy is the real deal. We can't keep making excuses.
Not half. And we were on the Talk Boxing show talking about this, saying I wouldn't have been, before the world title was put on the line because Usyk gave it up. I said downstairs, I wouldn't be disappointed if this was actually for a world title fight. It's that caliber of fight, in my opinion. And then later on, it's been put on the line because Usyk vacated, and I think Hrgović and Atoma were number 1 and number 3, I think. And this now is very deserving of a world title fight, and I think we're going to see two quality operators. A lot of people are picking Atoma to win and win fast, but Hrgović is so tough and durable. He's a big lump when you see him as well. He's a very intimidating type of character, although he's a really nice fella.
Yeah.
But he's here to mean business, and he's here now with that extra added incentive of
if I win, I'm not just beating a top prospect who no one's giving me a chance to win. If I win, I finally become world champion.
Yeah. Does it Talma beat Fury and Joshua?
Boxing is all about timing. Now, 6 months ago, I said that Talma wouldn't have beat Usyk, but then I watched Usyk against Rico Verhoeven, and he struggled, and I saw signs in that fight of age, which happens to us all. Time is unbeaten. There's no shame in it whatsoever. Usyk's a phenomenal fighter. And then when I saw that, I thought, well, I would probably fancy a Talma now. He just needs to. The thing in boxing, what's a bit different to football and other sports, until you do those 12 rounds, you don't really know you can do them. It's like coming back after an injury or a layoff in footballers and they're saying he hasn't got 90 minutes in him yet. Well, that's with a boxer, you have to build yourself up there and build that engine. He hasn't really had the chance to build the engine because he's blasting these fighters out there who are supposed to give him tests. So we're going to see a test, definitely, in my opinion. And if he flies through it with flying colours, then for me, he's absolutely the real deal.
How do you think Hrgović will approach the fight, Paul?
It's a good question. We actually asked him that earlier on, and you'll hear him answer it tonight. And I think personally he'll approach you being very careful, because you've heard so many rumours, you've watched the tapes, you've seen the footage. He said he's got good speed, he's got good brain, he's got good footwork, and he can move well. He never said he's got good power, and the time was blasting everyone out of there fast. The reason why he didn't say that is you don't really know until you get in and you feel the power yourself. You might have power to you, he might have power to you, but not to me. You might have it to me and not the biggest heavyweight out there, like Hrgović is one of the biggest. So I think he's speaking really well, and I think, judging by what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, body language, listen, we're all experts on that, aren't we? We all think we are. I think he's probably going to have a little look at him and keep him trying to establish the jab. Hrgović is so tall, he's got a really good jab. The jab is nullified sometimes against a good southpaw, which you told me it is, being left-handed and standing the opposite way. But I think he said something really well. I'm going to have a look and I'm going to see what he brings as well. It's not just what you do well, it's what your opponent's doing.
Do you think he might make it not so much a dirty fight, but time up, holding, frustrating him, because he's not used to that either as a young fighter, is he?
No, he's not. And I think the thing with Talma, because he's done so well and he's blasted everyone out of there, Hrgović has ticked so many of them boxes. He's got a good chin. He's been at distance. He's been, hurt. He's been cut. Talma's still got a lot of boxes to tick, and I think that's important in boxing. I think he'll tick some boxes on Saturday night, and one of those boxes is getting him into the latter rounds of the fight. If he's dragged into the latter rounds of the fight, he's been past 6 before, and I think he did 7 or 8. But if he gets dragged into 8, 9, 10, and the fight's still relatively close and not one-sided, and he's been made to work early, then we will see whether the Talma is more of the real deal, which we all think and assume that he is. But that's what makes this fight so intriguing and fascinating, to be honest.
Intriguing is the word, definitely.
Yeah. Frank Warren was with you as well on Talk Boxing, and people can hear the full story, but I'm being told something he did say was that whatever anybody says, and whatever Eddie Hearn says, that Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury will be in New York. Come what may. There's no. I mean, Mike Tyson was in the paper saying it should be in the UK. It's a great fight.
Well, it should be in the UK.
But
we all know that.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because that's where the money is. I mean, you might know. If you're making the point to us, if you want to do it in London, you're gonna have to do it for less money.
You have to do it for less money, yeah. And what's the old saying? He who pays the piper picks the tune, and that's unfortunately how it is. If you want to fight and you want the type of paces that you're both going to demand, and listen, deservedly so, they're the 2 biggest heavyweight names in the UK, arguably in the world.
The interest in the US, though,
it doesn't really.
I'm not sure. No, it does, but it doesn't matter because because of Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's on Netflix.
So they've got 300 million subscribers everywhere. The majority of those are in the States.
Yeah.
So, well, I would imagine, again, from what I've heard or read, I might be wrong on that, I might be quoting something completely wrong, but the majority of the audience is in the States. If it's in New York, you get the West Coast, which is just 3 hours ahead. You get the UK, which is just 5 hours behind. So it's a bit easier having it in New York rather than on the West Coast or Vegas, where it was initially mentioned.
It'll be Madison Square Garden, won't it?
From what I'm hearing, it's Madison Square Garden.
Which is a great, iconic boxing venue, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
So it's not like they're not doing it in a car park somewhere in New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. It's an unbelievable boxing venue. 2 of my brothers have fought there. I've been lucky enough to be there to watch Fleetwood Mac, watch some great fights there, and my brother's there. It's an iconic venue that everyone would love to fight in.
Yeah.
but it's not the UK where the UK fans are, with the hardcore boxing fans who...
You'll get a big turnout.
He took Fleetwood out in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I remember it.
I wish it took Stevie Nicks out.
But they will travel. You'll get a lot of people going out.
They'll travel,
yeah.
but it's not going to be the same as what it would be here in the UK. Now listen...
It's better than being in Riyadh, though, isn't it?
Probably because of the travel and everything else. And as I say, a lot of Brits will like to go to New York to experience Madison Square Garden themselves.
Yeah.
But I think what we have to look at is hopefully the bigger picture. If they do fight, they're going to have more than one fight, and I think the rematch will be here. But it's going to be a case of, if you want the fight, it's going to be where it is. Otherwise, it might not happen, because there's unfortunately not enough money in the pot to stage it in the UK.
No. Well, we'll see. Paul, thanks for popping in.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Appreciate
Lovely to see you.
Yes, Paul Smith. It was along. Simon Jordan, of course, was there, as was Duke McKenzie, Spencer Oliver, and Paul. And you can head over to the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel to watch it this evening. It's 8 o'clock. I think we put it normally up about 8 o'clock in the evening, so you can go and check out that on the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. So still to come, we're going to talk a bit of Leeds next. We're also going to be hearing from Joe Root and get the reaction from his press conference today, where he talked about Bryden Carson, everything that's gone on in Derby the other night. Lizzie Hammond from the Times was in there. She'll join us for a chat. And we'll look ahead to tonight in the Carabao Cup as well. That's all to come. We're here with Tool Station. Only got time for one stop. First stop, Tool Station.
Of course he's got to start performing, but he's been injured. So he's been injured, so we've got no reference point. We've got nothing to really say about what he did at Liverpool, because he had no real run in the team. And if Liverpool aren't going to play in a way that suits the player that they've bought, which is get the ball to him, then I'm not entirely sure what you're supposed to do. What's he supposed to do? Put the ball up on the edge of his 18-yard box and run the length of the pitch, and someone's going to be happy with that? You're not Heung-min Son, is he? He's a centre forward. And so with due respect to it, I look at it and say, yeah, is he... The question for me is, big game players, big players, would have embraced that opportunity yesterday and gone back to Newcastle and wanted to prove a point. So is he a big game player? Is he a big club player?
I think we saw that. We saw that in Newcastle.
Should he not have demanded the ball?
What big games has he been at Newcastle?
Well,
big club?
Okay, I take you back to the semi-final Arsenal League Cup. You can say, look, it's the first thing they've won in 52 years or whatever it was at the time. And Isak was, he was at boiling point. He was ruthless.
When you play for Liverpool, you're expected to win. You're expected to be a top player. When you're at Newcastle, people anticipate and hope and will you to be such. And they expect their club to do it. When you haven't won anything for 70 years, it's a different feeling. Than
you're
when
now
you go
contradicting yourself, because you said, look, we need to give him time. We need to be patient. And I'm convinced that he will be a success.
I'm throwing all arguments into the equation. I'm throwing all parts of it because it's multifaceted. It's not one or the other. It's not a case of judging on one performance, but also if you're a big player, a really top player, you've played with them. You know what they look like. You know what they think.
Top player gives you consistency, and that's probably lacking from it. It's an interesting watch, but I think he's going to be a big force in the Premier League this season.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT and Visit Victoria, you could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for two to watch the 150th anniversary test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Betfair. Everyone's got an opinion. Back yours at Betfair. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Time to get all the latest odds now with Sam Rossbottom from our friends and official betting partner Betfair. Hello, Sam.
Hi guys, how you doing? You having a good day?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I understand you're on Wembley Way today, Sam.
Yeah, certainly. It's absolutely glorious here outside the home of English football. Not a great day if you're follically challenged like me not to be wearing a hat, but, you know, we've got to roll with it, haven't we? But, yeah, look, to celebrate the new football season, we know, and you guys know, that everybody has got an opinion in football, right? Whether it's fans, players, managers, pundits. And look, just because you've got an opinion, and sometimes they may be sensible, they may be accurate, but let's face it, the majority of the time, these opinions are unforgivably wrong. So we don't really want people to just forget those. We want to celebrate those here at Betfair, and we've teamed up with our friends at YouGov to poll 2,000 football fans in the UK to get their thoughts on the worst football takes of all time.
Right.
And I can reveal that one of your most esteemed talkSPORT colleagues tops the list. Rory Jennings' take in 2022 on Erling Haaland. He's going to flop in the Premier League. Well, 4 seasons later, 112 goals. It's a lot of egg on Rory's face, isn't it? But look, it's not just Rory that's had a bad take. There's plenty of others from down the years as well who can't forget Alan Hansen. You can't win anything with kids. And even just recently, Betfair ambassador Alan Shearer, when he said he was pleased to see Sunderland back in the Premier League because that's 6 easy points. Well, Al knows how those 2 games went last season in the Premier League. No wins, 2 losses against his bitter rivals. But to celebrate those bad takes, we've immortalised them here outside the home of football here on Wembley Way. We've given them the Hollywood treatment. It's not quite the Walk of Fame. We've created the Walk of Shame. So all of these fans, these pundits, these creators that have had a bit of a rogue take, we've given them a star and we've given them the Hollywood treatment.
It's looking quite permanent, Sam, is it?
Well, yeah, the stars are certainly here and they're certainly shining with their bad takes.
Oh, fantastic.
Rory's got his own section.
Rory's going to have to come down and sign it. Yeah, look, you know, sometimes in life you've got to stick your neck out, haven't you?
Yeah, well, we actually had Alan down here earlier on, Alan Shearer, and he did press his hands into the cement, signed his name as well.
Oh, brilliant.
But, I mean, look, the funny thing is we're already like one match week into the season, aren't we? We've already seen, United fans, United are back. It's going to be their season. That bubble's burst. Spurs fans spending 300 million. They're going to give it a good go. That bubble's burst. I was wondering, guys, Paul, Andy, do you have a hot take that you're willing to stick your neck out on the line for?
No, because the thing about this is we've all done this. We've all
made the knee-jerk reactions
things ever. So, yeah, I mean, I can't think of any that
I'll take 16th. Maybe that's my hot take at the moment. I'm quite happy after the first 20 minutes. I said to my mate, I'll take 16th.
Well,
it's come to that.
Listen, if it doesn't quite end up too well for you, you might be on the Walk of Shame next season.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if we certainly get in the Champions League, you can put me on the Walk of Shame for that. Nice one, Sam. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. Thanks very much.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Have a great day.
Sam Rossbottom there on Wembley Way. Our thanks to him. For all the latest offers, go to betfair.com, 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Betfair. Everyone's got an opinion. Back yours at Betfair. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Now, Leeds kicked off their Premier League season with a nice win. They play Forest tonight in the Carabao Cup once again. Back-to-back games against Forest. A new book, Rise and Fall of Leeds United, sort of tells the story of this last decade and the Bielsa years, and it's been pretty topsy-turvy.
Story, isn't it? But I think they're in the best position they've been in for a long time.
Yep. Author Dave Tomlinson joins us now. Hello, Dave.
Mate, hi. How you doing?
Yeah, we're not so bad. Yeah. So what has it been about this sort of decade that wanted to make you to sort of chart the story?
I think it's like any decade for the last 50 years with the Leeds, ups and downs, more downs than ups. But this was a particular time with Bielsa where it was actually magic. There's no Leeds fan wouldn't recall this with, fantastic appreciation of what happened there. But in fairness, I tried to capture with my books other stuff than just the football. And this was what I was trying to get into, was the stuff behind and what caused that. But, absolutely fantastic day to be a Leeds fan all this last 10 years.
It's called Rise
After what came before, yeah.
Of course.
It's called Rise and Fall, but it could easily be called Fall and Rise, couldn't it? I mean, they're in a good position at the moment.
Well, it's rise and fall and fall and rise and rise and rise and rise and fall and fall. Yeah, we get it all up. But this is particularly about Andrea Radrizzani. So a guy that came in, he built them after Massimo Cellino, and then a spectacular rise, and then he fell. So this is primarily about that, rather than the club itself and the team. So it was really charting that through, because he was, I thought he was a really good chairman, one of the best I've seen at Leeds for a long period of time, and I said that when people had asked me. A lot of people were slagging him off, but then what came after that, he didn't have the money, but people blamed him. They always want someone to blame, and he fell, desperately low at the end. So he was almost going to sell Ellen Road or use Ellen Road as a mortgage for what he did with Sampdoria. So it is, in Leeds fans' eyes, definitely fall in the Slough death bomb.
Yeah, we had the original Spygate within the midst of this, didn't we? Bielsa generally. I mean, he was just this incredible cult hero. He's such an interesting. For years and years, you wondered how he'd do if he ever managed in English football, and we found out, and it was not boring, was it, Dave?
Boring wasn't the word, I know. I mean, people say, yeah, it was wonderful. We all knew all about him. He was this master. He was like the person that got all the disciples. Truth, I don't think any Leeds fan knew anything about him before he started, but they certainly knew after the first game, the Stoke game. So Stoke were favourites. They took him to the cleaners, and they carried on all the way through that season, collapsed at the end. But it was fantastic, honestly, because this was taking the squad that had been there the previous season, underachieved, close to the playoffs, but fell away at the end. It was taking an average squad and making them fantastic as a team. People certainly knew about Bielsa afterwards.
The bucket, that was the key thing.
Yeah, that was all part of it.
Don't call me names. Don't call me names.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about life now then under Daniel Farke? I mean, we had that great turnaround, that poor start last season, and then the infamous moment where he changed things up and you never looked back. And you're feeling pretty positive going forward for this era?
Hey, I'm actually just go back. I think we were just lulling people into false sense of security, getting them to have a go at us. But I was actually at the City game, and the City fans, first off, they were getting bored. They certainly didn't get bored after that when he changed it around. They were, I have to say that they were quite in a messy situation. Luckiest one I've ever seen. But after that, never looked back. So following on from that, they got games against Liverpool, Chelsea, etc. So the Chelsea game in particular stuffed them, absolutely stuffed them.
Yeah, it's a shame though about the semi-final. That was a wasted opportunity, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's usual for Leeds fans, isn't it? We never win at Wembley. We never do well in playoffs. We never get there. I was there, but, yes.
So, well, look, good to talk to you, Dave. We wish you well with the book. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Dave Tomlinson there, Rise and Fall, Andrea Radrizzani's Leeds United, published by Pitch, telling the story of that era from 2017 up until sort of recent times when things are going rather well, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what teams both managers pick tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for these games. We'll have a chat with Adrian Durham, get his thoughts on that a little bit later on. He's going to be around the grounds from 7 o'clock, but we have got Forest Leeds as a commentary. Jim Proudfoot and Luke Chambers, the former Forest defender, are your commentary team for that one. In the final hour, we're going to be joined by Graham Scott, the former Premier League referee. Pretty quiet weekend on the officials front, wasn't it? So we saw some of the new trends, some of the new kind of this softly approach to VAR. How well did it work? We'll get Graham's take on that. James Coles, who used a 1902 bat, the Gilbert Jessup equivalent bat, to see how far he could hit sixes. And Adrian Durham, as we said, joining us. Plus, sticking with cricket, we'll be chatting to Lizzie Ammons from The Times, who was in the room when Joe Root spoke to the press a little bit earlier on about what went on in Derby the other night, and Brian Cast being dropped from the squad for the second test on Thursday. That's all to come.
I've got a league table in front of me. Guess who's bottom?
Who's bottom? Who's bottom?
Your mob. You're bottom. Bottom of the table, Jay. Jay, do you know what, mate? I offered you 10th the other day.
Look, mate.
You going down?
Mate, please, like, come on.
What do you mean, come on? You're bottom of the table. You're bottom. I mean, you love flirting with the bottom of the table. You've started the season bottom of the table. You could go down, Jay, again.
Well, on that, if we play like that, we'll go down. If we play like that, we will go down. It's as simple as that. Forget top four. Forget European football. Forget all this, guff that we've been talking about with players coming in, a new era at Tottenham. If we play like that, we'll go down. Because you cannot turn up to a football match and play like that. That's embarrassing. They should be ashamed of themselves. Ashamed of themselves. How can you go through pre-season and then start like that?
They're going to clap the fans.
You can't start pre-season. You can't go through pre-season, all right, giving it the big one, and then turn up and play against Brentford like that. That is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And we get scammed every season by Richarlison, who scores a couple of goals in pre-season. You go, oh, he's all right, Richarlison. We'll play him up front. We'll start him again. And then we get the same performance that we get every single
Why didn't you put Dubravka up top? I said that at half-time, Jay. Nuisance value.
Yeah, lots to get through in the final hour. Cricket, football and more. But first, Ben Fletcher's here with the sports headlines.
talkSPORT Sports Update with NordVPN. Now with built-in next-gen antivirus that automatically detects malicious links, websites and files.
Good afternoon. Raging Joe Root hasn't held back in his assessment of yet another off-field distraction.
If I'm being brutally honest, I'm really hacked up. I'm really disappointed that after last week's performance, we're sat here and we're talking about nothing related to it at all. And in terms of the incident itself, it's obviously with the regulator. There's not a lot I can say on it. It's in their hands now.
The England Test skipper says Bryden Cast is very upset and very apologetic. The fast bowler's been dropped after being pictured in handcuffs outside a bar in Derby. Savinho to Spurs, done deal, but some are questioning his £75 million plus price tag. Just the 2 goals and 9 assists in 53 Premier League games. Former Palace owner, our very own Simon Jordan, wonders if this is a good tactic for Tottenham.
And these players being bought from other sides that you're trying to emulate is always a curious phenomenon for me. I know that you can get jigsaw puzzles that work better in different spaces, but if Savinho can't do it for a rival, why can he do it for you?
They've spent over £300 million this summer, and we're told they're still fighting for Cody Gakpo's signature. And rugby league legend Sir Billy Boston has died at the age of 92, becoming the first player in the code to be awarded a knighthood. He's immortalised in a statue outside Wembley. Martin Afire is as well. He told talkSPORT Sir Billy will be remembered as a legend of the sport.
It's a sad day for rugby league, a day of coming together, a day of sharing memories. I didn't get to see Billy play, but spent a lot of time with him over the years.
There's plenty more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Migrants are paying for their small boat crossings through forced labour, and a man has died and a woman has been left critically injured in a crash after a police pursuit near Stratford. More from Sinead at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Keep summer journeys safe. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com to book your tyres, MOTs and servicing so you can drive away happy every time.
Dry for most of us with warm sunny spells this afternoon. There's a few showers about, mostly in the southwest. They could turn heavy later this afternoon.
Yes.
Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Adrian Durham will join us a little bit later on. We'll look ahead to a big night in the Carabao Cup. Just a reminder that Forest Leeds is live over on talkSPORT 2 with Adrian around the grounds tonight from 7 James Coles of Sussex was among the cricketers who tried their hand at using a 1902 bat, as used by Gilbert Jessup in his record-breaking century for England. So how did James fare? We'll tell you more about that. He'll tell us more about that later on. And Graham Scott on the changes to VAR and some of the laws of the game and how it all worked in the first round of fixtures in the Premier League in the weekend. But you just heard a sort of brief snatch of that conversation or that press conference with Joe Root. We'll play you in a slightly extended clip of that and then get reaction from Elizabeth Hammond from The Times, who was in the room watching it all unfold. But this was Joe Root a couple of hours ago.
If I'm being brutally honest, I'm really hacked up. I'm really disappointed that after last week's performance, we're sat here and we're talking about nothing related to it at all. And in terms of the incident itself, it's obviously with the regulator. There's not a lot I can say on it. It's in their hands now. I've spoken to Bryden. You know, when I first found out, my first concern was him as a person. As someone I've spent a lot of time with, been involved in this dressing room. You obviously develop personal relationships with players. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn by saying he's very upset, been very apologetic and understands his actions, and I'm sure when he gets his chance he will say that himself. But I don't think it's not the isolated incident itself. I think it's the fact that we continually keep making stupid mistakes away from the game, and it's detracting from what we're doing on the field.
Yeah, he's right.
He's absolutely right. You can't argue with it, as we said. Good afternoon, Lizzie.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand how frustrated he is, because when you turn around and say, we don't need curfews, these guys are adults, you treat people like adults, they act like adults, and then this happens.
Yeah, I mean, he must be enormously frustrated, having agreed to take the captaincy back on, which I imagine he had to think about quite hard, because it comes with a lot of hassle. They had a good win in his first match in Route 2.0, and then barely 10 days after he'd said, let's be adults, everyone be adults, we know our responsibilities, this happens in the early hours of Sunday morning. He must be absolutely exasperated.
I wonder why it still keeps happening. I mean, not that Ben Stokes had anything to do with it, but he was there, and surely some guidance from him might be a good idea, that you don't go into these clubs and you don't do this late at night. I just think they need to have a different approach.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine Ben's point of view will be that he's no longer anything to do with England, and Durham had just had a very good win, so, no, I don't think anyone begrudges them going out for dinner and a few drinks. It's being there in the early hours of the morning in circumstances that most people don't find themselves in, that seems staggering to me. The other staggering thing to me is that Braden Carse is a fast bowler. We all know the effect that alcohol has on your body. 48 hours later, he was supposed to be here at Lord's training, trying to get a place in the England 11. You'd think that he might want to try and impress people and get his, force his way into the side, but clearly not.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to hear from him. I said the regulator's looking into what happened, but as Joe Root just said there, he's obviously spoken to him, and he's very upset and very apologetic about what happened.
Yeah, and I guess there is an element of Joe Root and the ECB having to have a welfare element. Is he all right? Is it how has this affected him? How is but equally, it's hard to have that much sympathy. He actively took the decision to go out and stay out half the night, despite everything that's happened. If this was just the first time this has happened with an England player, then it might be different. But this is about the 8th incident.
We were speaking to Steve Harmson the other day, and he does feel that English cricket and maybe the England setup, in some cases, got an issue with alcohol. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think it's all of them by any means. I think there is a handful that certainly like a night out. There was certainly under Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes a real kind of emphasis on fun and, and that sort of culture. I did think it had changed, or at least they would have all gone, okay, this is a great idea, given what happened in the Ashes, given what happened with Harry Brook in Wellington, given what happened with the Rex Rooms incident with Stokes and Gus Atkinson. You would have thought that the penny might have dropped. None of this is a good idea because there's always someone with a camera. It doesn't seem to have dropped with a few of them. Like I say, it is by no means all of them. You never hear Joe Root getting caught out at 3 o'clock in the morning, do you?
No,
but it's quite hard to know what they can do short of saying, what are you playing at, lads? Because the curfews were in place, they didn't work. I'm not sure that you shouldn't need to have curfews in the first place. But it's quite hard to know what Root can do. There's obviously an incoming head coach, Stephen Fleming, who's at the moment 10,000 miles away, but must be rolling his eyes about what job he's taken on. I think Root has probably read the riot act with his squad in the dressing room before they were training here at Lord's earlier with this has got to stop. It's just got to stop. And as he said in his press conference, it's going to take time, but now they have got an opportunity as a team. And they're a younger team. They're not. There are a few of them who are not part of the Ben Bazball culture. They've got an opportunity to just really stamp this out and just show that they are adults.
You mentioned the effect, of alcohol on cast and athletes. Football had a drink problem, didn't they? But now it's considered. I mean, a footballer just wouldn't go out and drink. Especially, I think the influence of the foreign players helped that quite a lot because I think they came over here and the English players looked at them and thought these blokes know how to look after themselves.
Yeah,
but that seems to be unlikely in cricket. I don't know.
Well, I think there's two elements here. I mean, obviously, a footballer comes with a huge price tag. He's a massive asset, and being injured, kind of, you just don't want that. And also, in cricket, they're just not as famous. So I think they can go out without being recognised. Apart from we've just seen that that's not true.
No, definitely not.
And do you think it's going to affect this second test? As you said, they come off the back of a good win and a good performance.
Yeah, you'd imagine Pakistan will be better. They couldn't be worse, can they?
No,
really?
that's very true. But how do you think it will have a knock-on effect? Everything that's gone on.
I actually don't, because obviously Cast is not with the squad. The rest of them had nothing to do with it. It wasn't an England night out. It was a Durham night out. They will have taken great confidence from that win at Headingley. They were really very good. Root captained well. The bowlers were very good. They set about their job really well. Pakistan are... this is not a vintage Pakistan team touring, and they have been boosted by, I think, the return of the captain Babar Azam, who should shore up the batting a bit. But I think that England will, you hope, and certainly looking at their training now, they're focused on the task on the Test match and winning the series at the earliest opportunity.
Lizzie, thanks very much.
Thanks.
That's Elizabeth Hammond there from the Times at Lord's, and we'll have all the updates for you, of course, here on talkSPORT once it gets underway at Lord's on Thursday morning. Yeah, I see.
I'm supposed to be going Saturday, so I'm sure it'll rain.
Yeah, well, I think there is a bit of rain out and about, but maybe by then it's cleared, Andy. Who knows? Yeah, you are a bit of a Jonah from that point of view, aren't you?
Oh, now two balls the last time I went.
You saw how many? Two balls in a day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tremendous.
You get some money back on that, don't you?
Well, my friend did because he bought the tickets.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I didn't get the money back on the lunch I bought though. Thanks. That's the way it goes.
So you got the lunch.
I don't begrudge it. That's our arrangement.
I mean, if he's listening, do you want some of the money back for the lunch?
No, I don't. Not at all.
Okay, fair enough. A percentage of it.
None.
He'll come in and drop you a few chips on the desk.
Definitely.
Indian cricket icon Rahul Dravid and the Australian legend Steve Waugh are this week's guests on the Following On podcast to discuss being part of the inaugural European T20 Premier League, which gets underway tomorrow in the Netherlands. For the full interview, you can download the Following On podcast from all good podcast providers or watch the show on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel.
Thank goodness we need another competition in T20.
We do. We need more, some more T20. James Coles will be joining us, Sussex and England Lions, a little bit later on to talk about what it's like to use a bat from 1902. We were asking you about using the old equipment and how it would go down with the modern players in all different sorts of sports. To get in touch this afternoon, talksport.com/H&J. You can text to 81089 or tweet to TSH&J. But Graham Scott, former Premier League referee will be joining us. It was all changing the Premier League at the weekend. Different approach to VAR, it seems, and some law changes as well. So how did the officials get on? I mean, they seem on the face of it to have had a good weekend, didn't they? It was all very low-key. We'll get Graham's thoughts on that shortly. We're here with Toolstation. Browse the full range of indoor and outdoor lighting in-store or online. First stop, Toolstation.
Yeah, fair play to Hull. I think Sergei Yakirovich is going to prove to be a very tactically astute manager. He's got Dean Holden as his assistant, obviously a boyhood United fan, but he was absolutely buzzing with that win over his club, and they deserved it, Hull. I thought they were brilliantly organised. I've pretty much been the only pundit on talkSPORT saying I think they've got a chance of staying up, and maybe people will come round to that way of thinking now. But the lack of energy, effort and endeavour from those Manchester United players is unforgivable. The bare minimum away from home against a newly promoted team on the opening day of the season, you have to match their levels of commitment. And these United players did not do that. And is it a surprise you look at people like Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw? These players have been part of the problem for too long, haven't they?
So is Carlos Baleba the answer to your problems then? And is it going to happen, Crookie?
It's going to happen. I'm told it could even be announced as early as today. Whether he's the answer or not, I don't know, because you look at United defensively, so poor, the 2 goals they conceded. I've mentioned Shaw already. They definitely need an upgrade in the left-back department. It seems to be every summer they target one area of the team, the United hierarchy. Last summer it was the forward line, obviously bringing Cunha and Mbumo and Šeško. This time it's 3 midfielders. Tillerman's miles off the pace for me at Hull, and Santos didn't cover himself in glory, but hopefully from United's perspective they'll improve. They've got to work on that defence. You know, I don't trust any of the central defenders, to be honest. I know they've got Martinez and De Ligt to come back, but can they stay fit? History tells us probably not. Lenny Yoro's not ready yet, nor is Heaven on what we saw at the weekend. And
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary Test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT and Visit Victoria, could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for 2 to watch the 150th anniversary Test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
Hawksbee and Jacobs here on talkSPORT now. There was a bit of a change-up, we were told, maybe a bit of a lighter touch around VAR and some law changes as well. And we thought we would sort of dissect what we saw from the first round of Premier League games with the former Premier League referee and athletic refereeing expert, Graham Scott. Hello again, Graham.
Good afternoon. Great to be back.
Good, yeah, good to see you. It did feel like, I say, a bit of a lighter touch around VAR. There was no big contentious moments as such, were there?
No, I mean, there's a red card at Brighton, I think, isn't there? And an offside at Man City. I can't think of any others. Sorry if I missed one. Similar last season, to be fair. The only intervention last year was a technical man too close to a wall at Stamford Bridge, which confused most people, I think, rather than enlightening anyone. So, yeah, it's good to see, obviously. But always the VAR, it starts with the on-field refereeing, and people would still lose sight of that, I think. There's all the debate is about whether VAR should do this or VAR do that. If the refs do really well on the field in the first place, we don't talk about VAR, and of course that's what we want. So good to see a good start, and well done to everyone involved.
The grappling seemed to have sort of eased off a little
Yeah.
bit, didn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there were strong pre-season messages sent out. Has to be said that has been done before, and we get a few weeks of this, and then there's a few penalties or free kicks, and then all hell breaks loose. But let's see what happens. I do hope it works. It did seem that players were leaving the goalkeeper alone. That's a good start. And almost everyone was facing the ball when they were marking, which is also another great thing to see, because those are the red flags for the refs. That's what they've been told to look out for in particular. So if that stops happening, a lot of other things flow from that. You don't get the same two-armed, full-on body hugging going on, often by both players, actually, which is why it is often allowed to continue, because there's actually technically no offence. They've both done it. So it was pretty refreshing week one. We'll see. Last year in week 3, we had a little flurry of penalties. So it is early days.
Howard Webb was at pains when they had the Premier League launch day that the Drive guys were at. He was at pains to point out it's not going to be yet for the first 2 or 3 weeks. We'll keep an eye on it, and then it'll go back to the way it used to be. I think he was at pains to point out,
Yes.
that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen this time.
Well, he has. It's his 4th year in the job, is it? And I think we've had that in at least 2 of the previous 3. That's not really on him, though, and I will defend him on that, because what tends to happen is the refs, in general terms, around these kind of clampdowns at the start of the season, the refs are given a pretty strong edict. It comes from the league. They're told, we will back you. We want you to do it. We want you to be really tough. We want you to be really strict on this. We'll support you all the way. And a month in, the clubs start squealing that, hang on, this isn't what we had in mind. It's too tough. You don't understand the game. And the refs go, take a deep breath. Go on then. What do you really want? And then there's a kind of row back, and then people then blame the officials, because they're the kind of names above the door on the actual decision, say, well, you lot have stopped enforcing it. Well, we have, to a degree, and maybe we should be tougher, but only under pressure from the stakeholders, the owners, the people who fund everything.
It was interesting to see Arsenal taking quite a few short corners, not really doing their normal routines. I wonder if that's had an effect in that way. Probably has, I suppose.
Possibly, and I mean, some teams deliberately do it differently early on in the season, and then will change later. A lot of teams will do routines with their first corner of the game or the second, or the first corner of the half, because the players can memorise that and do it differently than thereafter. They're kind of near post or far post, and that's about it. But it is interesting to watch. I mean, I'm all for the variety. So let's see how it plays out over the coming weeks.
We did see some players getting the hurry up from throw-ins. And the referees...
Chelsea got penalised. Fair enough.
Yeah. So we saw a little bit of that, and and what about the increased communication? Is there anything you particularly noticed around that? The fact that they're kind of releasing the information a lot quicker.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was anything that particularly stood out as a kind of really contentious decision, which is where people then hanging on every word. So the red card at Brighton, I think most people would accept. You can't do that. You're going to get done for it if you do. VAR was correct to intervene. And I mean, as it happens, on that particular post by the Premier League Match Centre, they called it serious foul play when it's violent conduct. But that's just, frankly, pedantry. It doesn't matter. People know what they mean by it. So we haven't really had that. Hasn't been tested. That'll be tested when we get one of those decisions that people really don't like, or that divides opinion right down the middle. And then it will be, well, hang on, last week we had something slightly different, or whatever.
We sort of lost Anthony Taylor, one or two of the sort of big hitters along the way. What about the sort of quality of the referees we're seeing, and those that maybe have been promoted into the Premier League, Graham?
Yeah, so they've changed the group. So they've basically merged all the Premier League refs in with the Championship refs to create a bit more flexibility around the appointments. Also, quietly to save a bit of money, but there we go. That's in a whole other story. But they have done that, and we'll see some different names and faces. Fry Hallam refereed Ipswich Sunderland. What I've seen, did really well. Certainly nothing contentious there. He certainly does appear to have what it takes. We're all one decision away from national ridicule and humiliation, something that completely blows your career for a year or two. Just ask Stuart Atwell about his ghost goal. That cost him 2-3 years of his career before he could get back. So do pray and hope that doesn't happen to anyone else, including Farai. But we will see some new faces. I think those coming through, I think I'm slightly concerned. There's a bit of an identikit ref coming through who's a bit robotic and a bit lacking in personality. That could just be their inexperience, and that will come with time. We don't need the full-on fireworks of refs making it all about them, of course not. But most people do prefer a bit more personality and common sense and empathy on the field than give them the choice. They'll go, well, we don't want consistency, but we don't like robots either. So we want a nice blend between the two. And certainly Farai appears to have that in abundance. And hopefully the others develop that in time.
Bring back Roger Kirkpatrick.
Wow, that was a very long time ago.
Mr. Pickwick, yes.
Yeah. It's true, because there was a breed of referees back in the day. Not as far back as Roger Kirkpatrick, but you could have that balance between having a good relationship with... Joe Worrell was one I used to always think was very good. He always seemed to have a good relationship with the players. Didn't really make it about him. He wasn't a larger-than-life personality, but just seemed... His game management always seemed really good.
Yeah, and for us... I think it's his greatest strength is that he's approachable, so you can have a conversation with him, but he doesn't take any nonsense. So when you're having it, you won't have it. You're not going to take any. I can't use the word I was about to use there. You can't. You probably can guess what it was.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
But he won't. You're not going to muck him about. I'm not going to take the mickey. The card will come out.
Yeah.
But if you're prepared to, I always just have with the players. Sometimes you get people say you can't talk to refs anymore. That really isn't true. We can't talk to the players. That's actually the problem. They won't listen. They can't engage with them. So when that's a two-way conversation, it does work much better. And most of the time, it is what goes on. But when it breaks down, it's obvious and it's public. And obviously, cards come out and people don't like it.
If there's any players listening on their way back from training, we've got a former Premier League referee. You've told us before you don't like sarcasm, and Harry Kane used to be a bit.
Unless it's mine.
Harry Kane saying to you, "You're going to give us anything this afternoon, ref? Never played well with you." What goes down well from your point of view from a player's point of view? How should they interact with a referee to maybe get a better decision now and again?
Well, we're just human, aren't we? Believe it or not. I used to. We do bleed when you cut us and that sort of thing. So I'm not asking people to be ultra nice, but just be straight and respectful and be honest. It's no magic. There's no magic to that. That's what you get in. That's how you get things in life, isn't it? And yet, it is strange how there is this assumption that if we shout and berate the man in that man over there in the black or whatever colour they're in this week, long enough and often enough, we'll eventually get something go our way. Well, eventually something will go your way anyways, but don't attribute it to the fact that you did that. I know people watch the World Cup and the way that particularly Argentina would crowd the ref and it would appear to have an impact, and sometimes it will, and sometimes you have to be inside that circle with them, but more often than not, just being straight, being polite, being honest gets you a long way.
Just going back to the whole Manchester United game, where we saw Maguire apparently holding his own player.
You can't penalise him for that.
Have you ever seen that? No. I've never seen that before.
No. I suppose any player at any time can lose their bearings and what they're up to. No, but I've not seen that one, no.
So real you are the ref. Do you book him?
You can't climb on a teammate, so you couldn't climb, kind of use them for leverage.
But
I'm glad no one ever did it, because I can't remember what the restart is. I think it might be. I'm sure it's an indirect free kick. I don't know. Please, I hope it doesn't happen.
Good to talk to you. Thanks very much, Graham.
Thanks very much.
There we are. Graham Scott, former Premier League referee and the Athletic refereeing correspondent there. Now, you can watch the US Open Pool Championship on talkSPORT's YouTube channel from 5 p.m. today and every day until Sunday. Watching them putting their 50p's down. Of course, they probably don't have to do that in the Open, almost certainly not. Adrian Durham's going to join us for a chat a little bit later on, looking ahead to the Carabao Cup games this evening. He'll be at Plymouth, and we got Forest versus Leeds 2. Only a bit sick of the sight of each other.
Yeah.
They play tonight, and that's live over on talkSPORT 2. Tomorrow night, we've got Tottenham versus Charlton. Become a much bigger game for Spurs. Charlton going rather well, aren't they? Unbeaten so far. And then it's Newcastle versus West Brom. West Brom had a good result at the weekend as well. So a couple of big games tomorrow. And you're lot on Thursday, Andy, against Luton. You're going to that one, aren't you?
I am. I think the thing is, just... The Spurs will do this too. It's about how many changes they make, especially this time of the
Well,
year.
they've got, I mean, hopefully some of those players that couldn't get any game time, I don't know if Kudus can, I don't know if Mickey van der Ven can get some game time. A few of those players, and Porro, that they felt weren't 100, just to get a little bit of game time in their legs before Newcastle, we shall see. Savio. He's now Savio. Don't call me Savinho. So I thought I would check out exactly why that is. And when he signed for Manchester City, he said in the Brazil national team, the first call-up, they put Savinho on the shirt, he said. People in Girona knew me more as Savinho. It was just written Savio on the shirt, he says. So I told Manchester City to put Savinho on the shirt, and hopefully it will bring me luck, he said. So I imagine that's why
that's probably why it's changed.
I may turned away from that to go back to Savio to reinvent himself. But so there we are. Although it did allow one of the lads that we go to Spurs with, Ben, to point out, Ben Bowman, that he said we spent the whole year going after Savinho and ended up buying someone called Savio. Typical Spurs, not getting their number one targets.
A lot of stuff about Daniel Levy in the press today, and about
whether his shares have been sold or not. Yeah,
he must be looking at this and thinking, I'd never have spent that much on this one, or X, Y, and Z. I mean, it's a complete change of policy.
Of course it is, it's completely different. And we'll find out in the fullness of time whether it works or not. I've got to be honest, I'm yet to be convinced by Savio. I don't know. We'll see. I trust the manager, trust his judgment. He thinks he can get a tune out of him, which he's going to need to do, because the last couple of years have been, after what he did at Girona in Spain, that one season had been a bit underwhelming. But he's only 22. He's got plenty of time to develop.
Athletic have written a very positive piece.
He needs. It's the end product, isn't it? In terms of goals and assists, really. So we'll see what he can offer. We're going to talk cricket with James Coles of Sussex next, who tried his hand with a 1902 cricket bat. How did he get on? We'll speak to him shortly.
We ain't back, are we?
No.
We ain't back.
No,
I'm a bit worried, mate. I'm a bit worried now.
You're taking 10th? You consider... Okay, give me this. I'm giving you 10th now. Are you considering it?
Maybe. Yeah, I might put...
Mate, at 7:30 on Saturday, you might be taking both arms off.
Oh, God. You know what I was worried about, right? We made all these signings.
What part are you worried about?
No, I mean, the front three is just so bad. I can't believe that front three. It was unbelievable. Mikey Moore, Tell, and Richarlison. The team looked worse than last season. Like, when you actually looked at it, Spurs' team looked worse than last season. The only player you'd say in there was Tenali, where we paid 100 million for him, right?
Toenail.
But, like, really...
Toenail-y.
Van Hecker and Senesi at the back, right? Van der Ven is better than Senesi. Van Hecker had a bit of a stinker. Romero, on his day, is better than Van Hecker, all right? Archie Gray is not as good as Porro. And left back, Robertson, okay, I thought he'd done all right, but, we need a bit more from him, but it's first game.
What about Slipsky?
The front three was it was awful.
What about Slipsky?
Yeah, he didn't have his best afternoon, did he?
He lumped the ball up to Richarlison. Richarlison trying to win a cheap free kick.
It wasn't ideal, mate. It was a bad start. It really was.
Well, do you know what, Jay? It's about things. Say things can only get better. Maybe they could get worse.
Who would have thought a sporting event's halftime show could have a bigger impact than the game itself?
That seems to be the case with the Super Bowl halftime show. In 2024, Usher brought in an audience of 180 million worldwide, the biggest in the event's history. But how did singing and dancing get to be the centerpiece of America's biggest sporting event? The first Super Bowl was held in 1967. Initially, the halftime show was a display purely for the fans in the stadium, with marching bands, dancers, and American patriotism for all to see. And that's what it was for the first few years. Disney had a go with a few questionable displays in the 1980s, but it wasn't until '93 that we got the first glimpse into the future of halftime shows. Michael Jackson's stellar performance gave NFL execs something to think about. A raft of massive names followed, including Diana Ross, U2, Janet Jackson, who gave us the most famous or infamous wardrobe malfunction of all time. So how many people are involved? To give you an idea of the scale, Rihanna's 2023 performance included 800 people, and experts reckon it cost $13 million. What's even more impressive than some of the names on the bill every year is the fact they do it for free. The artists know the exposure they'll get from doing the show will rocket them up the charts across the world. The Super Bowl halftime show will be a fixture in pop culture for years to come. So the question is, who next?
For Hawksbee, Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. We'll be catching up with Adrian Durham, who's around the grounds tonight at the Carabao Cup. A little bit later on, Andy Goldstein and is it Gabby Agbon this afternoon, alongside Andy from 4 with Drive. I wonder if Oliver Glasner, the Forest manager, is a big fan of kind of fairy tales, because he said at the weekend after the defeat, because he only just kind of got into the club, hasn't he, again, and he said, there's no special button. There's no special button you can press that will suddenly... And today, ahead of the game tonight, he said, I'm no magician. There's no magic drink to give the players to make... I mean, see, he obviously loves them. Maybe reads them to his kids when they were younger, you know. Ollie and the magic button and Ollie and the magic drink.
He'll do a good job there. There's something about it, the way he speaks. I'm sure the players...
Looks like they're going to get Delap. We were talking about this yesterday, weren't we?
It'd be a good signing for
40 million, you happy with that?
Yes, absolutely.
He seems like a good fit, doesn't he, for them? He felt he's got that sort of Forest feel to
I
him.
wouldn't give up on him entirely as a player. I think he's got something about him.
I've got an interesting fact for you, whether you'll find it interesting or not. But often at sort of airports around the country, you can pick up football shirts. And it tends to be the same sort of stuff, as you can imagine. Yeah. It's all, it's sort of Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City and stuff. But one of the large airport groups have said that their biggest selling shirt is the Wrexham shirt. It's selling more at airports, inside the airports, than Arsenal and Manchester City shirts are. Yeah, the company behind it said, it is astonishing from our point of view. He said it demonstrates how impactful the documentary has been for the club's profile. So they've seen this massive upturn at Manchester, Stansted and East Midlands, where they're selling the power of telly.
I've been reading about Britain's most tattooed man. It isn't me.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He went blind after his latest marking.
Oh dear.
Yeah, because it was only
his eyeballs.
No, it was only yeah.
Oh no!
He said I went temporarily blind for about 40 minutes. He said, honestly, people, it's actually bonkers, isn't it? The tattoo person said it was the first time the specialist, the doctor said, first time he'd ever seen anybody with tattooed eyeballs.
Wow.
I know.
That's
not good even.
So slightly obsessive, isn't
even
it?
Even the Beckhams wouldn't go for tattooed eyeballs.
Well, you say that now. Yeah.
And
oh yes. Liquidator. Have you seen this controversy in the Midlands?
Between Wolves and West Brom, isn't it?
Yeah. You play it, of course.
We do.
I think you were the first.
I think we
Chelsea.
were. Yeah, it's an old tradition.
Chelsea were the first. I mean, you get the idea. But
and
you go.
The we hate Tottenham bit in the middle of it.
You kind of do that, but sometimes they just clap and shout Chelsea at the end, don't they? So you don't always do that.
No.
But it's always been a slightly different one with Wolves and West Brom because it does bring a bit of swearing into the mix, of course, when they get to that bit. But that now Wolves have decided to so they can't play anymore. Apparently, they've axed it because it does lead people to swear about their rivals.
Well, that's fair enough, isn't it?
Although West Brom said they're going to keep playing it. And
it's going to be a juicy derby when they meet, isn't it?
Everything that goes with it. So, yeah.
Do you want Colin Fodder's view on the eclipse?
Well, I kind of get the feeling I'm going to get it.
Last week's eclipse was a wonderful moment, not just because of the vivid demonstration of Earth as part of the planetary system,
yes,
but because of the communal spirit it brought about.
Yes, indeed.
Like many, I headed to a nearby open parkland for the viewing, and channeling my inner Blue Peter, I made a pinhole camera out of a cardboard box. As the hour approached, my spot on Wormwood Scrubs, West London.
Oh, blimey, she's not inside, is she?
Hopefully.
No, of course not.
Of course not. Filled up.
Crimes against columns. Yeah.
I went alone, and everyone chatted to one another, asking questions about each other's eclipse-watching kit, and sharing the precious glasses like the many others I hadn't managed to buy.
I suppose I'm surprised they could see the eclipse with all the drones going in and out of the scrubs.
It's very true.
Yeah.
And also, I live in West London. It was absolutely rubbish. I don't even.
You didn't have the glasses though. You didn't make a pinhole camera, did you?
I didn't. No, not really. But
our assistant producer said she looked at the sun despite all the warnings.
I
don't know if her eyesight's back yet.
And then she went and had her eyeballs tattooed. So it's
of course not. Of course she didn't.
And
we didn't ask for robotic football, did we? Ask for robotic footballers, but we talked about the humanoid robotic game. So Tom gave us Carl AI Havertz.
K-I-A-I.
It doesn't really work.
Doesn't work. No, it sort of works written down.
Wally Caballero, we got that one. We had CP Theo Walker. I think we have done these before. Someone said you've done robot footballs. I mean, sorry, it was John.
Well,
it's not our fault, John.
On that basis, John, we might as well go home now.
We probably have done, but it was just the fact we were talking about. Oh, I didn't even ask for them. Somebody just started sending them in. Yeah. So there we are. Thanks for those. Anyway, and you got anything else, or do you want to?
Well, just I'm fascinated by this thing that famous people do, which is performative social media. I mean, Victoria Beckham's a champion of this.
Yeah.
So she's put up a thing on her Instagram with her daughter and she says, I love you so much, Harper. You think, why don't you just tell her that? Why have we got to see that? Who cares? Honestly, I don't know why these people think that we're interested in this.
Well, you are. You're obsessed, man.
I'm not obsessed at all. I will be buying the book, though.
Oh, yeah. Not interested. You've got some front. Anyway, Adrian Durham will join us.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone to Plymouth for tonight's game against Cov, and he'll be around the grounds with our top team. We have got Forest Leeds for you live. We'll get Age's take on their opening weekend of the Premier League season, how it might feed into the Carabao Cup. I mean, there's a few teams, I would imagine, that will put out slightly stronger teams than they might have done based on what happened at the weekend. Certainly if they're at home, quite possibly, also, including my lot.
This time of year, the players need football. They need to play. So I wonder if there'll be as many changes. It'll be interesting.
Well, we got Adrian's thoughts on that. Don't forget Drive with Andy Goldstein and Gabby Bonhor at 4:00. But we are here, of course, with our very good friends at Tool Station, open from 7 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Grab what you need, get on site, get it done. First stop, Tool Station.
would you both have expected better than what you saw from Tottenham? And I think the answer
I'm
to
not
that
surprised
is,
that they lost.
Oh, yes.
I'm not surprised that they lost, but the
Not
manner.
taking anything away from Brentford, though.
No, the manner in which they lost surprised me.
Right.
There didn't seem to be any
Right.
fight or any change in gear, or the mindset hasn't changed. It's exactly the same. A soft underbelly from Spurs, and they're going to have to eradicate that very quickly.
And both of you think they'll do one hell of a lot better than 17th.
Well, they've
so
with
do you
the players
still
they're
have
now buying,
heightened
yes.
expectations that they might be top half? Then they might be top 6.
No, I'm thinking top half of the table. I'm not saying they're going to be, it would be a surprise. They could do 6th, 7th, but they're going to have to improve massively, Jim, from what we saw at the weekend. And where are these players that have been injured for so long? Look, there's an awful lot of players.
Fit, isn't he?
Van der Ven wasn't available. Jim, you look at the back four, there's hardly anybody playing from last season. So, they're facts, but get them fit then. Let's get them out there.
We saw Newcastle yesterday and how they went about it. We saw... They're at home, yeah. But we saw Tottenham and how they went about it. It was chalk and cheese.
But I think this is great for De Zerbi because he'll sort the wheat from the chaff. And for me, I don't have any expectation of Tottenham. They're not my football club. So, I don't particularly admire their board and I don't particularly like their manager. So I don't have an objective view. So I'm quite happy to see them struggle. But that's me being mean-spirited. But you would, for the Tottenham fans, who are plenty of my friends are Tottenham fans, you've gone to Brentford. You've been battered. You could have got beat 7.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been a surprise because they were that dominant. They missed the penalty. They had other chances, Brentford.
Yeah.
A lot of that is because Brentford are a really good side, and playing Brentford away in the first game of the season gives you a false sense of security.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary Test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT, Visit Victoria could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for 2 to watch the 150th anniversary Test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
talkSPORT, the home of football soul. Morgan Gibbs White with the effort. It's into the corner with a first-time finish, and the captain of Nottingham Forest reduces the deficit.
Goodness me, the action just never stops.
Back to Okafor, little volley and a flick into the far corner, and he scored a second goal for Leeds at the Stretford end.
Yeah, big night at Carabao Cup action. Big 3 nights because you play on Thursday because of everything that went on, of course, last night against Fulham. And we've got Forest Leeds 2 after the weekend's Premier League game. That's over on talkSPORT 2. Adrian Durham is your host as you head around the grounds in the Carabao Cup. He's gone down to Home Park where he will be for Plymouth Cov. And Adrian joins us now. Good afternoon, Aid.
Andy, Paul, good afternoon to you. You're still doing robot footballers because Laurent Robot played for Newcastle.
Yeah. Thank you, caller.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's it. We didn't intend to do them, but they forced us into it.
They did.
So what an opening round. What are your main takeaways, Adrian, from Spurs going down? I'm sure that's how you're looking at it. But what do you make of the opening round?
It just confirmed what we all thought, that Arsenal are going to win the title again because they were, all right, it was commentary, but they were so good. Manchester United are still as flaky as ever. Tottenham Hotspur are always going to be Tottenham Hotspur. And Chelsea are a bit like the first half of last season. They're going to be an absolute joy to watch, but they're so flawed defensively that you can't rely on them too much. So I don't think anybody's going to get near Arsenal. I did say pre-season, I thought it might be a record points gap at the top of the table, 20 points plus.
That's what I think.
I stand by that. I think Arsenal could well achieve that this season, having seen everybody. All right, only one round of games, but that's my takeaway from the games, I think.
I'm not an Arsenal fan, but
really?
Not at all. But what was encouraging?
Who is your team then, Andy?
What was encouraging? I'm going to make this point without you getting in the way. Is that the football they played, which they were criticised a lot for in the last couple of years, was a lot better. And I thought they played some lovely stuff. And if they play like that Oh yeah, they'll deserve to.
Is that thanks to Howard Webb, you think? He's kind of curtailed their excesses.
Well, it looks like they're playing with a lot of confidence, so that helps.
I think that's right, and I said this yesterday after the game to Danny Murphy. We did a little roundup of the first 10 games, first round of games, and I said he said I must feel terrible because Arsenal are going to win the league again, and I said, well, actually, I hate to say it, but I quite enjoyed watching Arsenal on Friday night. They did play well. They had the game won by half time and got a third just after half time, but they played some good football. And yeah, there was less of that outhousery that really annoyed a lot of people last season. We also did mention actually last night the new law changes seem to, after 1 week, have done the game some positive good. I'm all for that, but let's see how it goes as the weeks go on.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting as this competition goes on to see if Maresca takes it as seriously as Pep always did. Because when they start talking about players being overworked, they often cite the Carabao Cup as saying, well, maybe they've got this thing with the European teams coming later, understandably, but maybe it shouldn't be a competition for Premier League sides. But it is invariably 2 Premier League sides in the final, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And Man City do have a good record in it. And I'm intrigued by it, actually. They weren't as bad as... I mean, they were very lucky in the end, Manchester City, at the weekend. But they did actually play well and they created a lot of chances. It should have been, with slightly better finishing, a comfortable win for them. So I think jury's still out on how they will go and how much competition there will be for Arsenal this season. But in terms of the Carabao Cup, yeah, I mean, Man City have had a great run in it. And I'm intrigued by the game we've got on talkSPORT 2 tonight, Forest against Leeds. Intrigued to see if James Trafford plays in goal, because he is not just their number one, Leeds United, he's their best goalkeeper, probably their only goalkeeper at the moment that you could rely on. So I'm kind of expecting him to play, I would think. But he kept goal in both the cup competitions that Man City won last season. So he's got some form in it. So it's intriguing. They went for 4 cups last season, 4 trophies, Manchester City, and the 2 they won were with James Trafford in goal. Read into it what you want.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I was saying just before we went into the travel there, when you were coming on, that I think a lot of teams, after what happened at the weekend, will maybe have a slightly different attitude. For example, I think Tottenham need to get some game time into a few players' legs out of Newcastle, because Newcastle's become very important after what happened at Brentford. I think you will see some managers maybe picking a slightly stronger team than dependent on the results at last weekend than they would have done otherwise.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the good news for my club, Peterborough United, is Watford have basically hinted that they're going to make 11 changes. Probably means they're still going to win. Our manager's done the team talk for them. He's come out and said before the tie at Watford tonight, we want to win and get an even bigger, more exciting fixture in the next round. Brilliant.
Wow.
Absolutely brilliant.
That's fantastic.
Sensational. I mean, our record in the Carabao is absolutely terrible, but I think it's been more competitive. And I'm talking about the Championship as well. The football has been great to watch. It's been enjoyable to watch for most of the World Cup. We said that as well, barring obviously the final. But I'm hoping that continues in this Carabao Cup second round. One of the joys I've had since I switched from Drive to doing live football is the Carabao Cup. It's been a massive surprise to me how much I've enjoyed it. I think one of the key things is that after 90 minutes, if it's level, it goes straight to penalties. There's real drama on the night and some really good football as well. So I'm just hoping that competitive teams are picked and managers don't have it in their head, let's get out of this cup as soon as possible. I haven't seen much evidence of that in recent seasons. So I'm hoping that continues tonight.
What's your expectation of the sort of side that Frank Lampard's going to pick for the game you're at, Adrian, against Plymouth?
Well, I mean, I think he will pick players who generally didn't play at the weekend. There are areas of the team where he might want to just rest a few as well, possibly at centre half. I think that somebody like Gus Harmer, who was on the bench at the weekend at Arsenal, he may well start. Jack Rodoni was on the bench at the weekend, coming back from injury. He may well need minutes in the legs. So I think that those two, and actually one of my thoughts pre-season, thinking about the teams in the Premier League was, I'm intrigued to see how Lampard gets both Gus Harmer and Jack Rodoni in the same 11, and I may well get to see it tonight. And it should be an absolute joy to watch, because these are 2 fantasy players who can play some really good football.
Yeah, I like Harmer. He's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, they're both capable of the spectacular and both are so good with the ball at their feet. So I'm really excited for it. 1,800 Cov fans travelling down here to Devon, and Plymouth have their own point to prove. They only got 1 point from their 2 games. They were beaten in their only home game by Stockport. So Tom Cleverley needs to start putting a little bit of confidence into the team and getting some results. But they did beat Exeter in round 1 with 2 late goals. So they've got the Devon Derby victory under their belts already.
Southampton West Ham's an interesting game tonight. I mean, you saw the natives pretty restless at the weekend. The West Ham fans not happy. They're going to want to get. I'm sure they want to get through this into the next stage of this competition. It'll be an interesting match, that one.
Yeah, it really will. I'm always blown away by the fact that West Ham have never won the League Cup, twice runners-up. I'm also interested in if they get a penalty tonight as well, because obviously Tati missed the penalty at the weekend. And if you look at it, people have been talking about Bowen. Engels has come in from Celtic. All 3 of them actually, Engels, Bowen and Tati, their penalty records are pretty similar when you look at them. But Jared Bowen hasn't missed for nearly 4 years. The captain, he should be grabbing that ball and taking the penalty. I want to know, Sunday dinner, Danny Dyer Sr., did he actually... Why didn't you grab the ball, son-in-law? Why didn't you grab the ball? That's what I want to know. He should be doing that as captain, in my opinion. It feels like Jared Bowen's one of those guys you just can't criticise. But, you know, I think he does deserve a bit of stick for that. He should be grabbing that moment and taking that ball and putting it in the back of the net. For Southampton, Harwood Bellis was left out at the weekend. There's been talk of him going to Villa, but Villa might turn their attention elsewhere. So, I don't know. Southampton are an interesting one. They did beat Stoke 3-1 on Saturday, but needed 2 late goals for it. It's a really fascinating all-championship tie. I like the look of it.
The other interesting thing around that is Aaron Ramsdale, who has turned out for the Southampton under-21s. He's probably unlikely to play tonight. I mean, you wonder where he's at the moment, Adrian.
He was so good in that season for Arsenal, wasn't he? And I heard him talking about it the other day. You know, he's in team of the season. He's playing for England. You know, the career could not be going any better for Aaron Ramsdale. And now this, I mean, it defies belief, really. I think that since the Arsenal, disappointment, being left out and replaced by David Raya, which nobody can really argue with now, I think that he's possibly made some bad choices. You could say that, and needs to get the career back on track. But it's quite sad to see when it's so difficult becoming a professional footballer in the first place, that when you make it to the very top, i.e. playing Champions League, playing international football, and then you can't get into the side in the Championship, I think that you need to just step back, have a look, and really make a good decision for your career. So I'm hoping we get to see him play sooner rather than later.
Good stuff. And you're a fan of Home Park. What are you looking forward to? Are the pies good?
Well, I was asked, where do you want to go for round 2 on the Tuesday night? And I said, Watford Peterborough, obviously. I was obviously denied that. So
10 minutes up the road from where you live.
Oh, yeah, I had a look at it. Is, yeah. I could have walked it. Yeah. I had a look at the fixtures, and Plymouth Coventry was the standout for me. In terms of, we had commentary of Forest Leeds. There's other games we've got pundits at. So Plymouth Coventry was definitely the one. And then he said, yeah, all right, you go to Plymouth. And then he said to me, Preston on the Wednesday night.
Oh, thanks.
I love Home Park. I mean, it's almost, you could almost say it's a Premier League ground. The fan base, when they're going well, get really behind them. It's a great city to be in as well. Yeah. As I say, Coventry are bringing a lot down. So I'm really excited to be here. It's not because it's so far away. It's because they're in League One. It's not a ground I get to every week, or I try to get down here once a season, and luckily enough, over the past few years, I've managed it. So here we are tonight. Definitely always look forward to it. You know me.
Yeah. Cool. Enjoy the game, mate. Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.
Adrian Durham, he will be at Home Park for Plymouth Coventry. Dean Ashton will be at Portman Road for Ipswich versus Leicester City. And Ben Mee will be at St Andrews for Birmingham City versus Brentford, who had obviously a very good result the weekend at Brentford. Can't remember who against now. So that is us. Good. We'll be back on Thursday. Charlie and Max with you tomorrow. You'll be here for the spread. How's the spread shaping up, Andy?
Well, I haven't really started yet. But
okay.
So I've been collecting the names, and
good.
I'm sure I'll give it my usual.
It'll be an absolute
fine effort.
Doozy. So, thanks for your company this afternoon. And coming up next is Gabby Agbonlor in for Benty on Drive alongside Andy Goldstein. Have a good evening.
love affair with Daniel Levy. He just really makes me laugh. I think.
What, laugh in a good way?
I'm here to amuse you.
No, I just think it's embarrassing, and I'm sure Simon and Daniel Levy must have gone on holiday together this year and shared a room because he's embarrassing. And
why is it embarrassing?
Because I think he should be the fifth member of the In-Betweeners.
Which one's the fifth one?
The fifth? No, you're the fifth one.
I know, but which one is the fifth one? If you're going to insult me, get me the details.
You're the fifth one. You're the fifth one.
I know you, Wally, but which one is the fifth one? Which characters? Oh, you're making a character for me. Got it.
Yeah, every time you mention Levy, they go.
Yeah, but you don't listen, do you? Because what you've got is your own preordained bias. What I keep on saying is that the ownership model that Daniel Levy worked within is the same ownership model that exists now. I don't care whether Daniel Levy's in charge of Tottenham Hotspur or not. I didn't always like Daniel when I was dealing with Tottenham back in the day when I owned Palace, but I've grown a healthy respect for him because I think he's a good operator. But you guys are listening to a new ownership model, which is not a new ownership model. It's the exact same. And the only point I keep making, while you guys keep on saying, "Oh, you're up Levy's backside," is that hang on, get some balance in your thoughts because you don't have any balance. That's all I do.
All right, let me finish then. Let me finish, yeah.
Go on,
right. You're like, every time you mention him, it's like, oh, friends, Daniel Levy, oh,
special friends.
Right. That's you, Simon. Like, Simon.
Shut up. When do I do that? I just gave you context.
You absolutely are in love with him. You two must meet up and talk about how